they gave us their artistic award because it looked like a giant gingerbread house with all the lights lining the roof, and we turned everything on, and we were really spending money. Sequencing was great because it actually took the electric bill way down. So here's the problem. I put the house on a diet this year because I've got sub panels everywhere. I got very, very good power management. So on a 200 amp panel, I was up to 145 amps. That's hard to do. And Darius, being the electrician guy, he may show up this afternoon, helped me make sure we balanced all the legs. So believe it or not, with all that power, I had very, very little power on my neutrals, if you know how power works. When you're drawing, if you're drawing 10 amps on either side of a leg, the two phases in your house that are alternating, if you're drawing 10 amps on both sides, there's no current at all on that neutral. Those two things offset one another. Like if you had just two wires and you're drawing 10 amps, there's 10 amps on that whole circuit. You balance it on the other side, now this one wire, your common white wire, doesn't have any power on it at all. So at 145 amps, we figured I had no more than maybe 2 or 3 amps ever at all running on my main neutral into my main panel of the house. But I wanted to start adding all this stuff, and I told Darius, I'm going to end up about 170 amps, and he goes, don't do it. You have one mistake, one side goes down, and the other side pulls a lot of current. You could burn a wire and have a, so he was real happy that I was going to go anywhere more than 25% of open, 200 amps, leave 25% open. So here's my problem. I've taken, leaving incandescent across the top of the house, but I've taken away all my C9s in the front of these doors, all the sets of them, and going to these things here. They're not going to be on this little controller thing. They're going to be, there's a hack that turns these, and I'll be mounting them to boards. And these will be my whites. So I'll have these. It's the same spacing that I have on the C9s now. It's a foot. This is about 10 or 11 inches, but it's a little closer. So I'm going to have the same thing. Well, I want the same look for my house. So how, if I want to just go bam, bad amp, hitting some of the beats on some of these songs with all multicolored bulbs, and I've got RGBs, and I want these to be in an exact pattern. I want red, green, blue, white, yellow, red, green, blue, white, yellow, to look like a multicolored bulb every time, and then just be able to hit these. How do I do that? We do all this color stuff, and we talk about red, color sweeps and all that, but never once have we talked about having a template for color. Because I need that window when I just want to be able to sequence it as one channel when I do that, and make it look like multicolored strings with pixel bulbs. Anybody have any idea how I can do that in Lightorama without having to step down through that thing and just making one window look multicolored? If you take just one little fade, it would probably take me 5-6 minutes just to build it once, but I want to repeat that over and over again. To take my old sequencing and get that look. I haven't figured out how to do it, and I was just wondering if anybody here had any thoughts of that. And you have HLS. I was kind of looking at Peter. I was saying this. I was wondering if HLS. I think it's a big void in the system that none of the pixel guys have thought about emulating the original light strings, which were multicolored C9 bulbs in the 50s and the 60s. That's what you bought.
How long are your strings? How long are the strings?
They go around each window, so I don't know. Some of the windows have as many as 30.
So when you did it with
Some are less.
with the C9s, you had like Was it 4 channels that you had?
Well, let's just forget the fact that I added the red, white, and blue. I just had a multicolored string around it.
Okay, so you said 1 channel, but it's all different colors.
Yeah, all one channel, all different colors. And now I've gone to these, and I just want to be able to come back, and I want to be able to just go bang, dang, you know, and then do a big fade, and then have. I want to do chases. I want to chase up and I do chases from the left window, door, window, garage, garage, garage. A chase of 6 channels.
So you want the RGB lights to look just like they were classic.
Like they were multicolor, yeah.
Just group the channels together, like every third.
That's what I was saying. I was thinking it'd be easier to do it spacing than it.
I think you can do it in the hardware level. I don't know how to do
Yeah,
it in the software.
it would be easier to do it in hardware, it sounds like to me. I'm more hardware oriented.
Well, how would I do it in hardware? How do I make a yellow bulb in hardware?
Well, you would
These are
bulbs
RGB.
together.
Yeah, you group those bulbs together.
Well, they're already grouped together. They're already grouped together. Let's just pick one window, and it goes from bulb 1 to 30. Let's just.
Bulb, yeah, whatever command you send to bulb 1 is going to be the same command sent to bulb 5.
Yeah, but I want bulb 1 red, white,
What you would have to
green,
do is
blue,
instead of
yellow.
saying-
or orange.
Instead of saying window 1, you have to say window 1 red,
Right.
window 1 yellow, window 1 white, window 1 blue.
Right.
And then
And the same.
sequencing it.
No, it's the first bulb has to be white.
Yeah,
The second bulb has to be red.
Right, he's not looking for.
Third bulb has to be blue, green, yellow. Red, white, blue, green, yellow. Red, white,
Right,
blue,
but you
green,
would
yellow.
have that one window set up where when you just command channel 1, say that's white, all the white bulbs are going to come on at the same time.
Every 5th bulb will be white.
Oh, wait a minute. I see. So you're saying take the 30 bulbs, but group them in every 5th bulb with those guys together
Instead of having a window element, you've got 5 elements in each
for
window.
one for each color group. A red, a white, a blue,
And-
a green, and a yellow.
Now, if you did mostly your show, just like it was now, and then basically group them all together and make the entire window red,
Well, that's
gonna
easy.
start blowing people's mind, because then they think it's all classic bulbs, and then you just turn the entire house red.
Oh, yeah, sure. If I can create the multicolor effect and you watch the show from the start, that's really what I want to do. I want to try to fake everybody when the roof comes on is always going to be multicolor. And I want these windows to have the same color pattern. And you're going to see maybe a whole song or two in the beginning of the show that it looks like my classic show. It's multicolor here. Nothing looks a whole lot different. And then all of a sudden the Star Spangled Banner comes on and the stars and the red starts fading and turning colors, and blue, red, white, and blue start striping their way down the front of the house. That's what I want to accomplish. And so that multicolor is just killing me, because I know I can do it by selecting each bulb one at a time. But oh my God, would that be?
Keep Joe like 5 minutes off.
It would turn into 20, 30, 40 hours of work on one song to get that effect all the way throughout. And it's just killing me. Well, everyone's going to be different. Like these came in. These are 25 bulb sets. But you can wire these up to 35 on a set for the power. And I think the largest one I'm doing is 32. I have a whole lot of sets, but then some of them I cut them down. There's a hack for the 681 controller where you cut. I'll show you guys. This is the first string. You cut these 3 wires off right here. You stagger them a little bit, and then they show you one is data, ground, and clock. I think that's what the 3 lines are. And you just wire that out to the 3 wire plugs. Put the plugs on your E681 and change it to the GECE bulb type, and it will run these are RGB bulbs.
Those are the load cells.
Yeah, these are the ones Lowe's sold, and they're called GECEs. They come with a really nice really, really nice mount on each bulb. So you can actually screw that thing down on a board and space them out nice and flat, and they'll sit right there just beautifully. And if you ever have a problem, you can very quickly pull them all off of your mounts, and I could change out a whole string. I realized I didn't have any spares. I got a really good deal on enough to do a whole front of the house this way. And but then I realized I didn't have any spares, so I paid some cutthroat prices because everybody was charging twice as much to buy these as. Still a lot cheaper than the Pixabulbs and those on mine in China. So, but I had to pay cutthroat prices for a couple strings, so I had some spares now because they're getting harder and harder to find. I've had people tell me that it's a neat look. It's a larger bulb. It's one of the largest bulbs that you can buy, and it's extremely sealed. There's no known examples of these ever leaking. They're sealed super well. But the downside, because they're cheap, and the downside is it's only got, I think, what they call 5-bit color. So the color, the fading points in the bulb are almost like little stair steps. It's not real beautiful where you can just, it's going to be more of a little juggle down. I don't know yet, because I have some things where my whole house takes about 10 or 12 seconds to go with everything bright on, and it goes down way slowly. The entire house goes all the way down to about 25 or 28%. The whole house is sitting there at that, and then some lights start jumping up like bicycles and stuff. That's a cool effect if you've never done it before. You bring down your whole house, but you don't turn them off. You just go out, sit outside of your controller and play with how far down can you get them and still stay on.
Oh, is that your Simpsons, the one that actually has, sounds like the power and trying to start it back up?
Oh no, that's another one. Hey, welcome. Let me think. Your son just told me. Bob. My son's name. No wonder I was having so much trouble. Bob, welcome. Sam's one of our youngest guys and probably one of our more techno guys, and Bob's been a great supporter of his son. It's Bob's house where they've been expanding pixels like crazy. And the only thing I know, Sam's being quiet about this year, but he told me that there's one thing I can share. His order from Ray Wu weighed 300 pounds this year. And that's all he's willing to tell. Oh, I know. He said, he immediately said, well, if your dad comes, you drag it out of him. He already knows I don't want to give it up. But I thought that was funny, so I figured, okay, if you come in, I'm going to tell everybody that Sam's order was 300 pounds this year for his stuff. He's been expanding pretty slowly until last year. Then last year he jumped up pretty good with pixels and a megatree and some really interesting things on the ground. Anyway, I guess he's up to something for this year. We were just talking about taking these, which are pre-programmed bulbs, and hacking them and plugging them into controllers. So I think I have something to think about. It's the whole idea is going to be regrouping the channels. In my mind, what we were just talking about, Lore has a feature called tracks. Rob, thanks. Appreciate you coming out.
Take care. All right,
Yeah, bye. Bob, I don't know if you've met Rob before, but Rob owns the Christmas Carolina website. He's where it all comes together. He programmed all this stuff that we use every day. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So to try to get these things to look like consistently look like the old-fashioned bulbs, I'm going to have to think in terms of regrouping the channels on the. And for a lot of stuff, I mean, these are going to be on a pixel controller, so I'm going to have them already assigned to go around the window. I always pick the bottom left and go around. The Megatree guys and most of the software tells you to start at the ground to the left. Then think of everything moving in that direction. But there's some multicolor right now. I'm gonna attempt to come up with this, and when I do, I'll send it around to the club, because I gotta figure it out in the next month. I'm thinking Light-O-Rama tracks right now will let me do that.
Yeah.
Because that's where you can create a view. Light-O-Rama tracks, and this might be totally new for you, lets you, and you can do as many of these as you want. When you select a track, it's a reorganization of all your light channels. It's a new view. Because we're used to putting everything together, the arch running from left to right, sitting there from top to bottom, for example. But if you want, the beauty of tracks is that if you, because you have a nice program chases in all of these software things, if you wanted to pick different light strings across your yard, like one, like, this was my palette in my yard, I want to pick a light string here, and one here, one here, one here, one here, something down here, here, and maybe over here. And let's say that was 8. I don't know how many I selected, but it was 8. You can create a track in Light-O-Rama and put those channels in there, totally different channels. They were probably grouped differently with things like them. You can put them together in Light-O-Rama in a track view. Track 1, save it there. You can do track 2, 3, 4. When you bring up track 1 view, there they are, and drag a chase across them, and now you just went whoop on that pattern. And then if you want to maybe go back and forth or grab it in the middle and spread out all the simple things you can do. All 8 of them are right there in front of you in the track. And then when you go do another song, build a different track, and now on that track you've got maybe 5 things here, 5 things here, 5 things here. And you're making those things go back and forth kind of in parallel with another. You can create another track for those. And each time you select a track, you can make your own notes that you always use track 4. Or I have a track, for example, for the Star Spangled Banner. So I always do the 82nd North Carolina 82nd Airborne singing Star Spangled Banner. And for Star Spangled Banner, I don't want anything to show up but red, white, and blue. So I built a track for Star Spangled Banner. All channels that were either red, white, or blue are in that. And I grouped them together in patterns across the house and stuff. So as soon as that comes on, you realize that there's nothing but red, white, and blue. And I know that's not magic for those with all pixels, and when you get more pixels, it's just simple software then. But for picking light strings and conventional Christmas sequencing, it was pretty cool when I learned the tracks feature to present myself with the things that I wanted, or to pick patterns through my system and bring those channels right together so I can quickly sequence to them. The old way of doing that would be build a chase and then copy it, and then go to this row, the second one, and figure out which next string, then go grab the third one and copy it down and find that next string. It's mind-boggling to try to do it that way. I'm going to think about tracks for creating multicolored lights. That's going to be the key. You know what just popped into my head too? When you build that track, if you want a red, green, or a blue light, you're going to pick the channel for red, green, and blue. But when you want a, what is it, the orange light, is that green and red?
I think so.
Or blue and red? I don't know where there's...
Blue and red is magenta.
Yes, oh, so okay, so if I have a purple bulb, for the ones where I want the purple bulb, I'm going to have to pick, for that bulb, I'm going to have to make sure I pick the red and the green and bring them up. And then when I do a chase, it'll be everything all the way down. And when I do that, it'll make this exact multicolor pattern that I want every time. Gosh, I think that's going to work. I've got to write that up and send that idea to everybody using the track.
That's the first.
Huh?
That's the first.
Oh yeah, I'm going to have to make it work. Well, I'm getting to the point where making everything inside the software to start doing that.
You want to write it down before you forget it?
No, I got it on my head. Tracks is good enough for multicolor. The rest I'll have to figure out anyway. That was just a primer. Peter, yours is kind of the next thing, if you don't mind. You want to go through your sign out individually? You've talked with a bunch of people about it, but maybe as a group. And again, you got it all running over there. We could probably use that as the presentation spot if you want. And just talk about. I'm really envious of this thing. My looks like
So yeah, well, I need to, last year when my display show, my design wasn't really good, so most of the people missed it. So they were just making me lights, and they said the video going on around it. And so I needed to come up with some. I wanted to not just to have a regular, which display just tuned to and the frequency number. So I wanted to even use it for messaging, so I can go over the, or maybe I would think even to have a charity, kind of raise money for some charity or something like that. Maybe later on, maybe I might do something. So I wanted to come up with some better solution. So this is my solution, but I didn't invent it. I just did the stuff which some people recommended for the DIY Christmas. And one guy who produced the controllers came up with the idea to have these four. This sign is built from 4 panels. Each panel costs less than $20, and you can buy them. In China. I already been asked. I'm gonna put some information on the website so you can see it. You can break it down where.
Yeah, you can do a project definition kind of thing. I know last time you sent me one, it was incredibly detailed.
Well, I just wanted to message it the way, but I was struggling with, so that's, putting the more details on it. Anyway, so the problem with this one is it wasn't waterproof, so I needed to come up with waterproof. With some people, they build just regular boxes. I wanted it to be a little more permanent, so I use a PVC, which is a little more expensive, of course. And I had to use a router to create the tracks to put the panels there. I'm using also the plexiglass to mount the panels on the plexiglass. I had to make some holes for the cables, everything, and the power supply which I use costs like $13. It said these panels, I'm not sure right now if you can write them even on 12 volts or just 5 volts. I'm not sure about it. So, but anyway, the power supply which I have, it says 5 volts, 60 watts, and
If they would offer 12-volt version panels, then you could then use your 12-volt.
probably, yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, the panels definitely not running on the 5 volts.
Yeah.
The control which I use for is the firmware has to be a little adjusted to run four panels together. It's a max actually, that it doesn't support more. And you can get it for $70. I'm going to do once I can get the controller. And my goal was to have the metrics so I can bring it whenever I want on it. So I think it will hopefully do it. We'll see how successful it's going to be. I'm going to implement it to my HLS sequencer, but unfortunately the HLS is not really good for the horizontal metrics. It supports only vertical metrics, and I asked Joe to do something about it, and he suggested me a way which I would spend clicking maybe a couple of days, just clicking.
So a separate computer would be able to.
I would like to have it as a part of my show. So currently I'm using the X-Lite to control this sign, which has the nutcracker, affects everything. I can export it to HLS, to the software, Dixon output. There is most of the other software outputs, and hopefully it should be doable. So I can export it and import this file to map to the HLS.
So they do have a HLS format.
Exactly.
From X-Lite.
Yes.
X-Lite is just our center of the universe for all of us.
Yeah.
translate stuff and do tricks.
That's my goal. I haven't done it yet, so I have put it since there's no output export file for it, so it's like mega tree. That's what it is actually. It's just a different layout. That's horizontal area. Yeah, horizontal area, exactly.
Yeah, there's what, 6,150 channels on that, aren't there?
16 by 128. So 2048.
2048 pixels times 3 for channels.
So
Is this multi-color?
yes, it's a
Yeah. So how easily can you, I noticed it's not using the whole display for these letters. Is this something that can be
much easier
to scale?
just do X slides. You can do whatever kind of you want with it. So
I just started playing with all the
fire. There are some other aspects.
I've seen that before.
I'm just trying to figure out what I want.
I like the snowflakes, because then you could have it like, if you put this over your porch, then you could have it snowing over your porch, and some of the songs.
You can totally adjust the position of the text. That's still one.
Can you also expand it to use the whole range, or is it a set pixel, is there a set matrix for the character?
You can use the font size actually. So whatever font it's you're gonna use for the.
That's neat. I can see why you're getting away with a 10-watt 5-volt power supply. Those are pretty neat LEDs. They're not as bright. as
You
50.
can change it. Right now I have it with the low. So
You're not even at max brightness. Oh,
that's the max.
there we
It
go.
doesn't adjust the contrast,
That's extremely good. Yeah.
It is.
That's
This is
what
the
you're
brightest.
right.
This is the brightest actually. Which is not really readable, so I think I'm gonna.
Well, if you do fade, if you get this part to fade and the letters to stay, maybe there's a way to do that. They go together.
Yeah, unfortunately, the brightest and contrast is actually
That's
combined together. Yeah, I haven't found any way to kind of separate for each layer.
Well, maybe if you go to Nutcracker more, I haven't used Nutcracker, but if there's a template for the text, I know that Nutcracker has 2 effects and you can set the intensity separately. So if Nutcracker would let you set the text and then put the flames way down under it, or very light snowflakes and stuff, and then save it.
Possible, yeah.
But then it wouldn't be in HLS, because I don't think Nutcracker itself can export to HLS with its program.
It does.
Oh, it does too? Ooh, did that happen just like recently?
No.
Is it always been?
It's actually.
I know there's one format it doesn't
I didn't know.
export to.
Huh?
There's one format that Nutcracker doesn't export to. Yeah, it's because of one of it. It's one of them. How much one?
Okay. It might have been one of the fixes.
I think it's one of the biggest.
And maybe this
Well,
new one,
well,
because
I know
this
them-
one's very sophisticated, and like he showed, they use it at a lower level.
I think it's
Nutcracker.
I think you're right. I think it's the new Vixen they call it. Until, yeah, for sure.
But those guys all work together, so it's,
I think it's the new Vixen that the Nutcracker won't transfer, it will export.
Right, you can't export the new Nutcracker to Vixen.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the only one, I guess, that'll export everybody else. But those
The
guys, I
Vixen
know,
3, you can do the Vixen 2, you can't do the
Right.
Vixen 3.
I know they're all buddies, they all hang out with Sean and they share stuff back and forth now.
Yeah, this has Nutcracker built. Yeah. But it's an older Nutcracker, it's not up to date.
Yeah.
So this control what I use, it supports only multicast.
Yeah, it's in the
for
text.
the unicast, so you cannot specify the IP. This is probably, but I'm gonna use just one control in my.
Is that because that controller?
Yes, unfortunately, it doesn't have any UI, so you can set it up.
Yeah,
It's
so
just the drummer.
It doesn't know about an IP address, it only knows how to just look at Ethernet for E131 pixels.
Exactly.
And set
And you use a
their,
different control.
if they're in my
You can
universe,
use a
I'll
different control, of course, yeah. But this for the cheaper solution, I will probably have to do some, have this $70 control for it, and
No, it still lets you pick what universe it'll read though, right? Channel?
You can specify it like by six, you can specify it up to, I think, 128. Universe number 128. The combination of the switches, you specify from 60 to 32, from 32 to 48, whatever,
Sure.
up it goes. So you are able to assign, okay, this row is gonna be channel, universe 5, and the second row is gonna be universe 10 or something like that. It's possible. Which I'm okay with that. I'm just gonna adjust it.
So it's such
each
a
line.
small footprint, I guess that was the trade-off. They figured out, how can they make something this big to
Yeah.
support, 12 universes?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your total cost on that whole thing?
Yeah, I would say the panels, it's $80, this one $50, so 95 plus the controller $70. So,
And the case, and,
and the case I have to spend a little more money on the case.
maybe 100.
You might make it my opinion. But I haven't said 120, no, $150 for the electric parts. Then,
But it's really cheap.
yeah, that's,
250.
that's what if you would like to buy this one, really, it's $500 and you don't have a control over it, you would have to pay it somehow to control it.
Yeah, just to buy this panel
Just a panel, exactly.
With power, maybe
With
that,
power controller.
if you have a big enough window, you could almost make that not large, put it on the inside of the window, or would it glare on that?
That's a good point. I don't think, well, I don't see any blurry here, it's plenty of.
That's true, that's what I'm flip side. So you could make it a little less leafy and put it on that.
That's true. But the problem, I think I don't have such a big window.
And well, you said it was 4 panels, right?
Yeah.
Could you have them 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's a square?
There we go. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. How do you actually, it doesn't matter.
They're right here.
Because that would fit in a window better than a long panel that would do text as well.
I mean, you can stack them above each other, and be possible over there as well. Maybe a little like a screen, but then I can just put a monitor in on it for,
Would the controllers work together, I wonder, and to build a bigger matrix? Anybody done that, where the panels are like 8 panels, for example, where if they were
2 independent
Four.
controllers.
That would be 2 different controllers. But
You have to put your controllers on this end.
then maybe X lights, like the way you assign the make, because it just sees that it's a matrix, right?
yeah, that's.
And then you're using the text feature. I look at it, underneath it, you got the noise.
Just wanted to share the idea because I think it's a pretty cheaper solution for the sign, which is we have 100% control of it. So,
That's great. I haven't done my sign yet.
some people they just do like just 64 pixels and it works for them as well. Yeah, I don't do that.
So you can have you'll have your FM scrolling now, then you do the channel, whatever.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put the information on the website so you can download it and follow it if you would like to follow it. Any more questions?
Yeah, did it work the very first time you plugged it in?
Well, it worked. It worked. I was surprised actually. First time I had it hooked up to the HLS and the text was flowing around and it wasn't really working. And then I used the slides and I plugged it in, I mapped it. And the guy who kind of helped me out to put it together as well, he gave me how he has it mapped. But I kind of figured out by myself in the X slide. So I had it hooked up and running in X slides. It was just like plug and play. I was expecting lots of problems.
Yeah.
It worked.
So you're obviously gonna put that outside.
That's my goal to keep it outside. I'm sorry, what was
You're
you?
gonna do it.
Yes.
You know what? We did, when we have open hours for control.
I think this part the 50505, whatever they are called, I'm not sure right now. I didn't really care since I had the control with it, so and I know that it's support, so I don't really care what it is. The controller handles that for me.
Right.
But it should be possible to find out on the website, right, so.
These works with that, control reports with this script or the different script.
That's a question for the guy, actually, if you would like to use this control for something else. No, that's a different.
Was it that number?
We showed it already. Oh, see, this is the Minecraft. Oh, maybe that was it. Maybe you are. It's a bronze holiday slide. Oops. So maybe that's it, yes. Okay. He said 8 universes, but if you count it properly, it should be out of 12 universes on this one. He made it, remember to adjust it, he adjusted the firmware, that's why I wanted to go with this controller, I didn't want to do that. It was for the preset, so.
He also had the 3200.
What kind of topics, what other topics do we want to get to? At some point, I wanted to get to Nutcracker. I still haven't had time to sit and get this thing working, but I have a number of experts with us. If for some reason my configuration doesn't get up to start working.
We let learn something about Nutcracker, because the way how I got the import files from the Nutcracker website, it was a pain. So maybe you have, I hope you should not show me some different way how to do it. So
Ooh, we're not going to
better.
get to, we're not going to get to that level today.
Okay. We'll see.
We're,
I'm trying to learn something.
I've had it installed for 3 days.
Okay.
It's 2 days longer than I've had it installed.
Yeah.
And, no, admittedly, I did install it a month ago, and then that night I sat through Sean's beginner class, and I walked through it, so, and then in the last 3 days, I did take the Coro flake and I built a custom matrix for it to match the way my pixels are underneath the flake and stuff like that. So I was hoping to actually just try to bring up Nutcracker and get to the point where we could do a direct output through X-Lights while you're playing with the sliders in Nutcracker. So if I'm real close, I got my definition screen up for the E681. I'm using the old E681s, which the only difference was the first, it doesn't have the ability to output a pre-amplified DMX like the 682 does. But each of the 4 banks on there, I can do my own DMX because I spearheaded a little group buy that we did off DIYC, just taking a little proto board and a RS485 chip and building a little amplifier. And you just put 2 wires coming off the controller, and you have your DMX coming off the little proto board. So our last 2 years ago, I ran my show that way. I didn't. All my DMX stuff I didn't run from the computer out of a USB. I just went and took a DMX bank off of one of my little pixel controllers. Actually 2. I had a DMX in the front yard and I had another DMX unit on the roof. This was a little amplifier chip.
The snowflakes, which is over there, is it yours?
Yeah, there's 2 of them that sit on my house, so I guess I can go through this, and then while we're talking about other stuff, I can see if I can get it running. These are holiday Coro flake and Coroplast that you glue together with hot glue. I found some references on the internet for a very, very strong hot glue. a lot of hot glue is not very, it's not very sturdy when you, especially when it hits plastic. It, you know, won't separate, it'll separate quickly. There's one out there, and I unfortunately don't have the name now, but I've shared it a couple times to the group. There's a brand out there that makes an incredibly durable hot glue that works really great for the chloroplast. This one's already been outside for a couple seasons, no issues at all. When you get it, though, the black background is just this black piece here. And so the downside of Coro is this whole thing was extremely light when it was done. And I built it completely. And then after the fact, I realized, you know, I'm really going to have to add some weight to this. So then I went and got some thin plywood, I think this Luan panel, which is maybe not even a quarter of an inch. I think it was called 3/16, slightly over an eighth. And also these Coro effects look better. You know, if it's laying on the roof, it was kind of like that. And then I added a board that tilted up, so then it was like that. So it tilts a little further by doing that. So let me put it up here.
How do you keep it on your roof?
Good question, well, it's sitting right here, I'll show you. It turns out that it sits pretty good on this little piece here. This has come loose, but there's some screws that's been hanging on it for 2 years, so I just have to tighten these up. I didn't want anything glued in case I wanted to change things around, so we would. But I'm real big on using office clips on my roof shingles. So I go up there with a flat blade and very careful in the wintertime, don't be messing with your shingles and lifting them way up. You will break them. And I did break one the first year messing around. I had to go up there in summer and take out the whole shingle and fix it. So, I just take these office clips and then it sits flat like this on the roof with the shingle opened up, and then I open this up and grab it. That's how everything across my roof is. As long as it has enough weight on its own to stay in place, I'll do that. For some of the larger things, I have an 8-foot star up there and stuff. I took an additional, like paracord, the thin cord. I took it all the way up to the roof peak and I anchored it up there because there's some little plastic slots, and I just tied a knot, put a tie wrap. You basically just, it comes loose from the little clips. You just don't want them to go flying away. But otherwise, my big, the 6 foot by 4 foot by 6 foot American flags out of lights are on a little wooden frame, so they're pretty heavy. So each side of the frame has one. The one thing that I did learn about it is you should always have the point that's anchoring it down close to the roof. Don't have it having a piece like up here and coming down like that. It does tend to pull loose that way. But when the hook point to your device is low, this is my roof, then when you come up and clip this thing on, actually I did it backwards. It's like this because I'm the roof shingles. So it's just like that.
And that would stay pretty good even in pretty high winds.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah, we had 40-mile-an-hour winds and nothing went anywhere. Even my little flying bears up on the rebar, on the thin rebar, way up in the air behind the mega tree. You know, they were waving around about a foot and a half of waving and 50-mile-an-hour winds, and they didn't go. So you get this piece, but you don't get the backing. I was also learned from. I think I learned this from Mark Schell in our group, but I might have learned it on Do-It-Yourself Christmas or reading the forums about Coro effects. But they told me not to try to seal this whole thing up because it's almost impossible to keep moisture out. And by the time you do and then you move it, you want to last a couple of years, eventually it's going to leak. And now you've built a really good moat because now the water is going to stay. So it's better off to let it go through. Use things waterproof inside the best you can and let the water go through and be gone. So what you get is this thing. You'll see all the glue marks where it was all put together. I'd say it probably took me a good 2.5 hours to build this. It was a full weekend on and off to build 2 of them. But that included putting the wood backs on them also, because after it was done, I realized. And now the layout is, I grouped, for power reasons really, the ones on the left I wired 3 of them together. There's 10 pixels, so there's 30 pixels times 4 50/50s is 120 50/50 LEDs on the higher power side, and that was about the biggest load I wanted to send back, because I've got about I think these lines are 18 feet. The controller sits up in the top of my house between a couple upstairs windows, and then the flakes are pretty as wide as I can get them, basically out away from that. And so the hardware comes in, and then it goes around the star. It goes 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it goes 5 down. Down at the bottom here, there's really these 4. These 5 are it like fills the little circle there, so you can do little tricks inside the circle if you want. And then these kind of make a circle if you use the second pixel down, or you just ignore that one and use these 5 like a circle, and it looks like the caps. You can do tricks in them. But wiring, I came in here, went down this way, and then I came in the side again, and then down, and then the side again, and go around and down. And then I just tell the controller that every 10 pixels I want you to turn it upside down. It's got a zigzag feature, they almost all do it. So every 10 pixels get reversed. And what that does is then this becomes pixel 1. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then this one was reversed, the next 10, so you get 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then this one gets reversed, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So that's the hardware view, but planning that I would zigzag it with the controller, turning them upside down. And as I'm learning to do this, I'm going to plan to group these 5 and these 5 set all separately, so that I can play around with the legs doing one thing and the caps doing another. I did that in my first year with it. I actually told the controller to group these, and I just had 2 channels per, 2 RGBs per. So I took these 5 together, these, and then the 5 up here. So there were originally just 10 pixels to the controller. So that's the whole thing. Using the really tough glue has held up really, really well. They give you a hole in the middle on these square modules. So what you do is you put a big dab of the glue. You put a dab in the center, and if you want a couple little dots around it, then push it down and watch it press out. And then from that point, don't touch it, because you don't, with hot glue, when it's drying, you don't want to fracture it. As it's cooling, if you move it again, you'll actually create fractures, because internally it's already kind of, you'll separate it, and things will come loose. And I read that somewhere anyway, and things that I played around with, they came out pretty bad, and one of these on one of the units, I don't see it here, looks pretty messy because it was one that I made a mistake on, and then I pulled it up, and then I was really in trouble, and this hot glue was so durable, I had a hard time carving it with a knife to get it apart. Anyway, that's the whole thing, and
So what's the power consumption of this star or flake?
I have that actually in a spreadsheet somewhere, but I think I'm using 100 watts and I'm pretty close to that. So I think these, it's 0.024 watts per pixel, right? Per 50/50. And there's 50 of these modules, so there's 200 50/50s on here, so 0.02 times 200, 0.024. 10. Boy, it's not coming out in my head. Also notice this, how this kind of came loose. This was a very dissimilar kind of plastic than this kind, and this, so either that or I may have messed around with it when I was putting it down. But there will be an area that I'll have to take. There's another one coming loose. So I think in the future when I go over a wire, it might be better to go over like a little, all the way over, touch back down. Actually, I think I could come up with the power. I'm pretty good at keeping my power records.
Hey, you're saying it's actually 0.024 per 50/50, 200 50/50s there. That's 5 watts.
It's what?
About 5 watts.
That's about 5. And
0.024 or 200 would be basically 0.05 or 100 would be just 0.05 watts.
yeah, I was trying to figure out if that was watts. Is it watts or amps? Did I say it right the first time?
Okay, 5 amps.
Well, I don't know. Hang on a minute. Let me find my power planning. Christmas display stuff.
Because I've seen LEDs displayed both ways. Power consumption.
Projects and assemblies. I made these in 2000. Coral flakes. 2012 pixel planning. There it is. Pixel planning, LED drivers and power supply. No. 2012 pixel planning. There we go. Snowman, RGB tree, coral flakes, 100 modules, 4 LEDs, 400 because I have 2 of them. It comes out to 96 watts at 12 volts. So it's 0.24
Okay.
when you do watts. And that's a solid number. You're supposed to then, that's supposed to be an actual when you use 0.2. So you'll see a lot of people using 0.3. So if you want to take your number of LEDs and go directly to your power supply size, I needed 400 LEDs at 0.3 would have been 120 watts, or 2 of these things. And I remember now that I got a bad 150 watt power supply from Ray Wu, and I only had 100 spare. I put it in there, and somehow, because I'm not really turning them all on and leaving them on, I got away with it. I have no headroom, but this is a 100 watt. And I do need to change that back to 150 just to be on the safe side again. When you're pulling the power that high in the power supply, it's pretty crappy power too. You get about 80% of really clean power on a power supply, and then the upper 20% is going to be pretty lousy, be noisy power. That is pretty much it on building this
So
thing.
Each RGB, it's a pixel, right? Or is it just down?
This is 1 pixel for 4 LEDs.
Okay.
And I'm glad you kind of brought that up. I've played around with, now that I've built one of these units with 4 50/50s, which is, when this cover is off, these things are pretty darn bright. But there's a lot lost inside the coroplast. So I always recommend, if you're going to build coro things, that for each pixel use 4. They even make these pucks that have 6. And they would not be too much, but it does cause you to have more reserve power for that thing. But I mean, you're in a whole different universe of these power because think about this, 100 watt power supply at 12 volts. That's only 10 watts at 120 volts. So when you plug it into your wall, right, it's only going to burn 10 watts at 120 volts.
About the equivalent of a C9 bulb.
Yeah, not much more than an entire C9. Whoa. Stand back, that's serious power. But you micro yourself, you bring yourself down to it though, because here I am, you know, oh crap, I need a 150 watt, 12 volt power supply. Oh crap, I only have 100.
I'm in the same boat as you, where I have 200 amp service, but it's 3-story house with a hot tub, 50 amp hot tub. So.
Yeah, now your hot tub's going to be 220, the load's going to be pretty well balanced, should be. So your neutral on that thing is probably drawing almost no load at all. Right? But I can help you with power planning. I've got all kinds of spreadsheets and things. I know you already do some of that stuff, but
That's why I'm trying to run as much LED as I can.
Yeah. LEDs basically until you've really spent some money, you can almost not worry about it. It's just crazy how little. I mean, one 20 amp circuit, let's calculate this out. That's 100 watts. Let's just say it's 120 at 12 volts. That is 10 watts at 110 volts. Basically, it's still watts are the same. It's still, no, amps are the same.
No, why did it say the same? Power times voltage, current times voltage, power.
Yeah. All right, so I'm drawing, basically works out to be 1 amp. What I was going to try to get to is it's 1 amp at 120 volts. This is 10 amps at 12 volts, which turns out to be 1 amp at 120. And you can put easily 16 of these things on one power outlet at home. You know, your standard 20 amp service, you can go to 80% of that pretty easily, 16 amps. You can put 16 of these double on one circuit before you've really caused any load problems. So I don't know, I'm kind of guessing your whole show may run easily on just 2 circuits.
Well, I have 4 circuits.
You had 4?
Circuits, but I want
They're not.
to make sure actually I have enough power.
Yeah, they're probably not even half loaded, maybe 9 or 10 amps on each one, if that.
Actually, don't move on, of course.
Were you able to actually see it in your power bill, or was probably not much?
My power bill went, that was more.
Yeah.
It wasn't all.
I ran my whole LOR show last year, which is all LED off of the 130 amp coming off the side of the house.
You have a 30 amp out there.
Well,
Or is it a 20?
no, it'd be a 20, sorry.
A 20.
It'd be a 20. But I ran nine controller boxes,
Yeah.
all daisy chain.
But each one of them probably wasn't even pulling an amp.
Yeah, I mean, my
9 or 10 amps.
my Mega Tree alone maybe pulled 1.5 amps with 48 strands on it.
Right.
So, because it's all LED, so the entire show is LED. So
Yeah, my incandescent runs about 30 amps.
These are not very accurate. You can get multimeters and do a lot better job, but this is still really cool. It truly got me through everything on my whole house. It's just called a kilowatt. It's cheap. I think I paid $14 for it. All you do is you plug it in. I plug it into an extension cord, so I'm carrying it around with me. Then you take your light string and plug it in right there. And then you can select, you can see how much voltage you have at the end of this, of an extension cord. You guys know that voltage actually changes on the longer, when you use long extension cord? Sure. I mean, a lot of people don't even know that, but if you go up a little short cord, As you get all the way to the panel, you'll truly see your 120-ish kind of voltage. As you go through your house, you maybe lose a little teeny tiny bit of voltage in your house, and then you go with extension cords outside. Yeah, that's why people call it 110. You're starting at 120 at the panels mostly, I think, and you can end up about 110 out in your houses and stuff. But it's funny, you can look at it here. You can click on amps, you can click on watts. The important thing to compare to log really is amps. When you measure through your house, that's what you want to, and your measure light strings. In this case, you could you plug this in and plug your whole controller in and turn all those lights on. And then just hit the amps button and it'll say something like 1.03. And you write that number down, and now you know how much max load that string takes. And you take take a spreadsheet somewhere and add all that stuff up on one circuit. Now you know what the circuit's got for a full load. When you get beyond 100 amps in a panel, really when you get to about 80 amps in total on your house, from that point you really have to learn which phase you're on. And that's not as easy to get until you actually go right down into the panel and look at your panel and see which side of the phase your breakers are on and know exactly which breaker you're on. So you can call it 1 and 2, or you can call it left and right, but you have to I call them left and right, so you have to get to knowing the left side and the right side. And when I would build sub panels, we'd bring out one breaker basically on each side, because breakers beside each other on a house panel, this is one phase and that's the next. One phase
Yeah,
and
so you
then,
can run 220 without that.
You run-
Same phase.
yeah, so I run little mini sub panels around. There's six of them on my house now. The 3 wires and a ground coming off the main panel, and it's a little double gang together breaker. And there's one that's left side and one that's right side. I call it left and right. And that way I know at the other end those 2 outlets, if you will, are left side and right side. And then I know what I plug into it, how much load, and I write that down in a spreadsheet. I got to where I knew from measuring strings that this type of string or this type of bulb is so many amps. So I started doing 2 columns in my spreadsheet. I would do one that said, what's my predicted amperage? So I did the whole house plan and I just calculate on my own what the bulbs are. And then I did one beside it. I didn't bother to go recalculate all the string and bulb numbers. I just go measure the actual. At the bottom of my spreadsheet, I add up both sides of the panel on my predicted and both sides of the panel on my actuals. And that tells me exactly where I was. And as I was crossing the 80, 90 amp range, Darius was coming over and helping me be sure of which side I was putting the numbers and stuff like that. And so I was able to go up, like I said, 145 amps. I'm expecting this year it's a pretty huge diet difference. I might be 100, 110. Still a lot of incandescent. I'm still hiding LEDs. As you know, guys, I've showed you a lot of the tricks that I'm doing inside blow molds and my RGB snowmen. And so those used to all have high amperage incandescent lights inside, and now I'm hiding LEDs inside them. So this year with this stuff on the front of my house will really be the first time I've exposed LEDs. I've been hiding them inside things and not showing them, and the bulbs that you saw were all incandescent. So I carried the flag for us incandescent guys. I caved, guys. I'm going with the rest of you. I still want that look, and I'm gonna solve this there's a multicolor. I'm gonna solve this multicolor thing. And so when you see my windows flash, and it's all looks like a multicolored string, you'll know that I figured it out. And if I start making posts, hey guys, I figured it out, but it's still killing me. It takes hours. I'm expecting possibility there as well. I don't know if there's another topic that one of you has that you want to bring up or open a discussion. I need to take a few minutes and work on the config. I'm gonna, because the last config I ran, I only had I had 10 channels on here. 10 pixels by grouping it on the controller. So I'm going to sit here and open the controller up and tell it it's all pixels now. And I think Nutcracker and X lights are correctly defined. And then we could start talking about that for a little while. If you guys have something you wanted to talk about, somebody can take the floor while I'm messing around.
So where do you store all this?
I'll give you my part. When I bought my house, it had a 3.5 car garage. It was a big door and a small door. But it was a modern house built on these, where they have big steel beams and literally steel pipes that come out of footers in the ground in my walls. So my garage actually had 14-foot ceilings. And when I started doing this, I needed lots of storage space. So I went over that single garage the first year, and I built the floor right there. And you can stand up in it, except on one side it slopes down to about 2 feet high on the other side. But it's just right above the garage door. Took all the garage door mounts out and reinstalled them onto my little mini attic that I made. Not too many, it's 16 feet, I think, wide, or it's 14. 14 long and about 10 this way. So that was it. Filled that thing to the gills.
You have blow mold, don't you?
Well, the first year I didn't. I had lots of blow-ups. Then I went massive blow mold crazy in 2010. And in large numbers because they were in groups of 8 rows. So I had to go over on the other side, on the left half of the big garage door, and did the same thing. And that attic right now is completely full of blow molds. There's 60 or something of them up there. Just barely made it. But, you know, my garage is kind of coming down. And then last year, especially going to the blow mold company up there at whatever their name was up near Rocky Mountain, we went up, and a bunch of us went up there. Got a whole bunch of really, really great deals on blow molds, just buying them directly from the factory at cost. And brought them all back, and I couldn't get them anywhere. Both attics full, you know, so. Then I had been building places to hang all these frames for the windows. There's another section back in that I got them up near the ceiling and some big long boards that we brought out. So they can kind of like big long frame hooks. Got them up there. Where I built the 2 attics, I was able to put lots of pegboard on them on the back side where it dropped down. So I got stuff like this, you know, and my giant candy cane pinwheels and the big shooting stars. They're big incandescent stars. And 2 of these, and then that great big thing where Sam and I bought that wire loom tubing, the white wire loom. That's a white tubing with a split.
Oh, yeah.
That's very hard to work with.
Oh, isn't that great?
I figured out a way to do it, and I built this real crazy-looking tube tree. It's got 8 lanes of pixels, and it has some great big ornaments on the bottom, so it's a funky, weird-looking pixel tree. So it'll be out with all the pixels running this year. I grouped all the tubes like one channel. I caved when I get it done in software, it wasn't ready to go doing all that crap. So this year it'll be all be running. So I still didn't have a place to put all these new blow molds.
Right.
And my other big hobby is that I've been collecting antique outboards for 30 years.
Antique what?
Outboard motors.
Oh, okay.
Go back into the teens and the 20s. And we own a lot of boats, mostly antique. I just picked up a new one, actually. I was showing some pictures around. It's another high-performance boat. Well, anyway, my name kind of got spread around because I have a lot of small hydros, the racing boats over 50s. And at Broughton High School, they spent about 10 years, their classes, building a Class C racing hydro. When they got it all done, they realized they needed another $3,000 to put all the hardware to buy a real racing motor for it, you need a whole arsenal of props. You'll spend $1,500 on props on top of that to rig this thing. And then they figure, and this was the story given to me, and then they're looking at themselves, okay, well, we can figure out some donations, but are we going to let a kid who didn't grow up in boats and racing go out on the lake and take this thing to 60 miles an hour about, you know, with his nose an inch off the water? And the answer was, hell no. So they started looking for somebody to give the boat to, and they gave it to me. I got 2 Class B utility racers. I never had a C. C class is a little bigger. And actually, it's not mine. Bobby calls it his now. But we were given this project from Broughton High School, and so I needed a place to put that too. So guess what? You know, the attic on the one door and half of it now, there's a third attic over the and the Class C hydro is laying across it because it wasn't as wide. The boat's wider than the attic. But 4 of us got it up there and laid it across up there. And then in front of it's 24 more mobiles. And then a bunch of artificial Christmas trees. And it's donut boxes, you know, the big. We got a deal. People find me, I guess because of the show, you know, came along and gave us artificial trees. My wife loves Christmas trees, so now she's doing themes by room. So we all have Christmas trees in our house now. So that's my storage story, but I think everybody, that's probably a good conversation. If you guys have any good storage stories, pass them around. And meanwhile, I'm going to be over here for a minute.
Yeah, how long does it take to put up your show? How many years?
Oh, you haven't been there. Everybody else, I think, knows this. 400 hours myself the first year. And I was ready to throw in the towel, didn't want to do this club anymore, forget it. I said, no way I'm going to do this. So, but I was talking to my niece, and I said, I don't even know, I'm going to tear all this down. And she said, let me put a group together. So she did. She went and got 25 people. Those 25 people have stayed. In fact, when other friends keep asking they want to join, and I had a couple come out, they got upset. Hey, we're your team, you know. We don't need any more people. Because I have megatree specialists now. I got people that know how to do the bulbs on the front layout. I got people that do all the icicles on the house because they're all pre-mounted, hanging all the way across my garage on hooks. Already mounted a PVC pipe. There's 6, 7 people that know how to do the icicles and where they go. So it's all 25 people. They come out right around the beginning of October. Put up all the major stuff. Everything's out. No wiring, no controllers. That's up to me. When we feed them all, we have a little party afterwards. So 25 people can get up my entire show in about 5 hours. 6 hours, I think, last time. It's going to be less now because I'm learning. I killed all my bulbs on the megatree that are worn out from weather. So I'm going to wait. We're going to do a little mini party like Thanksgiving weekend to put the bulbs on the megatree now because they really got wiped out. Then first weekend, standing deal, first weekend of January, or if it's bad weather, we'll opt for the next one. They all come back. Last year, they're really getting good now. Everyone even knows they're packing. So they know which ones they took them out of. The bulbs all go back into tons of bins, back up in the attic. 2.5 hours. They were really going for it this time too. They said, we want to set a record. We want less time on the tearing down and more time on the party. And they did it. It was like, you know, we started at 10 o'clock in the morning. It was like 12:30 and we were just almost done. I think it was a few things that were going in the attic too fast. I wanted to move things around and get controllers where I could access them off season, a few things like that, but they're done.
Okay.
So I've encouraged people that if they have friends, it's kind of hard to do a party yourself, or a group yourself. It's just one more thing where you have to spend a bunch of time organizing. So the best you can have is if you have a friend, in my case it's my niece, who lives over in Apex. Find somebody who would like to run the group for you. And and who can then come out, and then you got to help structure things a little bit. Had to buy a lot of cases so that things could be stored more easily. The first year, I didn't have enough, and so we were piling things up. And I was just laying things on the attic floor with newspaper on top and another row and some more newspaper. The second year got real good, everything was in cases. We bought the after Christmas sales, and we're going back up there and pulling stuff down. But yeah, it can be done. It costs you a little bit of money for food. I'd say, we probably spend $200 for that. We make a whole barbecue with all the fixings and stuff for them. That's pretty cheap to have it all done for you.
Was that barbecue now or?
Yeah, depends on where you're from.
Is anybody doing any shows other than Christmas?
The what?
Anybody doing any shows other than Christmas?
Rob does, the guy who does Christmas Carolina, does Halloween.
Well, we just left this whole house because it's called Halloween. Now it's the whole downstairs. It used to be the whole house.
I do a pumpkin choir, but for Halloween.
Yeah, I normally run a small 16-channel show with some rest in peace signs and 2 singing pumpkins, and I kind of leave it at that because in my case, Christmas is my day. And I thought it'd be nice to do a small little Halloween one just for the kids and stuff.
Halloween is my shakedown for my FM transmitter, the tune through sound.
Yeah.
And for Halloween, you run external speakers?
Yes. Well, and I also run externals for Christmas. So I run externals, and I also have the FM transmitter going out to the road.
I run both as well. My external speakers are on a timer, ready to switch timer. They shut off about 8:30, 9 o'clock p.m. A neighbor across the street that would call the pot.
Yeah, I was going to ask another question about people's neighbors and how much they like or dislike your displays.
She loves the light, she hates the sound. And how come that those lights don't do some type of nice, neat pattern? How can you constantly on and off like crazy? Well, you roll up and turn the speakers on so you can hear it. And you won't do the FM radio.
So last year was my first Christmas up here in North Carolina. And basically, the neighborhood that we're in, the people that the lights directly affect, which are the 2 houses next door and the 3 houses really across the street, they all loved it. I even got a compliment one night. I talked to the mom from the 3rd house on the other side of the street. She came out and she goes, "My daughter has to watch your show every night before she can go to bed. If she hasn't watched the show, she has to go to bed."
I got one of those too. little
Yeah, well, the thing is that 2 doors down from us on the side of the street that we're on, we have the neighbor, doesn't impact anything, but started out really being good friends with my kids and stuff, and we thought it was going to be a nice friendship to start. Well, turned out to be a psycho nutcase and so forth. She went online and said that, oh, well, why are they trying to be the Griswolds and stuff and the whole 9 yards. And that turned into a whole night argument that got my wife involved, got my sister, got her sister involved, all night long. By the next morning, all the posts were deleted from Facebook. They went to Facebook. Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, where we are in the development, we're on the far back street, the very last street. So the only traffic that comes down that road is traffic that lives on that road, or unless we invited somebody, and so forth. So going back to what Denny was saying with his display, normally our display, we would start November 1st, and we turn it on the day after Thanksgiving. Last year we ran into a little bit of problem unanticipating North Carolina weather. So the display didn't start on time on on Black Friday, it was about 3 hours later because I was still running less than an hour. And I didn't get everything up that I wanted to get up at that time, although I did. I told everybody and said, well, we're gonna work one more weekend, and after that, if it's up, it's up, if it's not, it's not. You know, so, but in our case with it, the minute, the year that I have to start hiring people come over to help put up my show, that's the year I stop.
When it stops being fun and starts being a
Well,
painful expense. Yeah.
well, no, it's not that, it's that Christmas lights have been in my family since I was a kid.
Mhm.
My dad did his house, all static display. You know, we have all the kids out in the front yard playing and stuff all around it, running around all the lights. I mean, my dad was meticulous, he was so meticulous that he even put, knowing that we were gonna run around as kids in the yard, he put everything in conduit pipe. So that every little thing, so there was no wire ever exposed or anything, it was all in conduit pipe. And every year we would put that up. And, so that kind of, you know, I didn't go so far as the conduit pipe because I would block my yard off so that, you know, hey, you can see it, you can run around the sidewalk and everything else, but you're not gonna run through the display. But for us, it's a labor of family love.
Mhm.
You know, it's, you know, because the way I look at it, we all get so busy during the year. You know, we all have different priorities. You know, we all work. We all have kids that are in different, you know, activities or, you know, soccer events or, you know, different things, karate, different things going on during the year. So what I kind of do, and this is why I only do a small thing for Halloween, is because we're focusing on Christmas and stuff. And normally I tell, this year we're actually going to start earlier. We're actually going to start in October. Just because of some new things that are going in. Plus also, I'm sure we're going to have the same kind of weather we had last year. So I don't want to get stuck in that pattern again. Because there were many afternoons and evenings where it was freezing outside and we were outside putting up lights.
Hey! Feel that heat coming off of it.
So,
I'm probably start about 2 weeks, actually.
yeah, so I mean, basically, so as I tell the wife, I'm like, don't plan anything, you know, and normally don't plan anything in November. All weekends in November are free, because that's when we do a lot of the heavy duty stuff, when we have all day.
They are right, huh?
When we have all day, we have plenty of light where we can put up like the mega tree and stuff, because mega tree with the, trying to do the spiral strand last year was a whole day. in itself.
Wow.
So,
What it does with its own.
so basically that's the way we do our display, you know, and, you know, I guess he's been helping a lot. He's the oldest. I have another son now who's starting to get into it. I'm sure it'll be a few more years before he really gets into it, but yeah. So no, time. So yeah. So basically, that's kind of the way I'm looking at my display, and not only that, but I try to keep it where it's easy to put up the next year. So I try and make it where it's easy to store in small spaces and easy to get to and easy just to put it back together and up it goes. And, you know, that's why I keep adding things, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to keep adding stuff to mine.
Labeling.
My wife likes to.
Actually, no. I actually, no. I don't label a lot of things. I do have my controllers labeled. I do have my, because every year I seem to move things around and change what channel they're going into. So I have my channel layout that basically says this goes where, and that's what I use. So.
How do you guys connect, running a sound? Do you run it through your computer?
They can
or
see the
you
effect of the
bounce it?
positions on it.
Yeah, so basically what I have for my sound right now is the sound comes out the headphone jack on the laptop, goes into the FM transmitter. Okay. I have the FM transmitter, which has a radio station already assigned. So I have a receiver that sits right underneath the transmitter. And that's set to that FM transmitter channel. And then out the back, I have two rock speakers with, that I put on each side of the display.
Connections on Ethernet?
No, those are hardwired with,
No, I mean to the control box. Ethernet.
yes.
Is there, you're talking about, Cat 5 cable, or you're talking about, actual E131? I used to say LR, I'm assuming it's gonna be Cat 5 cable.
Yeah,
Cat 5 cable, but my understanding is Sam's Ethernet.
so he's probably running, so he's over E1, yeah, E131.
It's the same cable, either way.
Yeah, it's the same
It's a
network.
42-inch rack with UPS and servers. There are 7 servers in this thinking rack.
Wow.
That's what he makes for living at home with his parents and not paying the house payment.
Yeah.
Maintenance on the house and.
Yeah, I'd love to have that, and no mortgage, no.
So, it was interesting.
So does anybody use any kind of, I know Holiday Core recommends this spray to spray in the pierce for cabling to prevent it from interacting with water and such. Does anybody use any of that stuff on their displays?
Doing that.
Any of that?
Yeah, and we highly recommended it. I forget exactly what he called it. I mean,
Corrosion X or something like that is what that Holiday Core recommends.
yeah, I mean, I mean, electrical current, just clean up the contacts to begin with.
The problem is with the AC market, once you get to after the downstream of the supply, 12 volt DC, it doesn't help you. I mean, it doesn't hurt you. It's all isolated. It doesn't reflect back to
I mean, you should talk about signal loss.
Right.
Yeah,
But
getting water in the network connections and stuff from plugging in the core plates and.
Peter, could you help me for a second here?
And, because I'm gonna have a couple of, network cable, I'm running everything's to the E131. I'm gonna be running network cables between everything.
You gotta remember the low voltage, they take it for the off signal.
Channel
Um,
set up.
So yeah, something like that.
This core plate is right here.
Part of the connection is inside the box. And we put a quick.
Yeah, I'm probably trying to do a lot of that in there inside,
In fact, I don't know that any connection is outside.
but like if I build to those core plates, something like that, it's gonna have to.
Even if it's inside, the core box is still effectively outside. It
Might get it so quickly.
subjected to the humidity in the air, or changes, things like that. That's roughly my convection with it.
So I don't have any problem.
Never had a problem.
Oh, I've had very good problems too, but sometimes it's a matter of, I think it's I work with phone company,
Yeah.
and we had technicians that had full-time jobs, full-time jobs.
Because I don't
I'm
have
on the
those
post, I
cameras.
can't.
So I have to go to.
So the ground fault interrupter is
there a way to
the
disable one?
big thing in the ring.
Yeah.
With AC, with a lot of cable.
Well, what's taught me some,
You probably just put your screen, channels down at the bottom, and so.
that seal around the plug.
So
They use some margin,
Only
But,
there's 5.
especially good for any other plug. Put a brick sitting underneath it, make sure it stays off the ground.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, keep things off the ground as much as you can. Something else that I
You don't
used
have
to
the
do
file.
that I don't do so often now
Wherever that file
is wherever plugs would join, I would take black electric and tape and cover it from end to end. okay? And it
Kill
doesn't
myself with
exceed.
that one. I just ordered a
Well, last year we
faster
had
prop for it.
considerably a lot of rain.
Yeah, a lot of rain last year.
And we had to go to show that part of the ground because
Yeah, well, the thing is, no matter how much you protect it, that GFI is always it's gonna find someplace. And
That's what I'm gonna go to.
You're gonna find someplace.
well, water's gonna find someplace to get in there and interrupt that circuit, no matter what you try and do. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so, you know, those are just things you have to deal with.
So I'm happy to fix it, because once I get to the supply, I have to worry about it to the supply. After that, I can have lots of cable and everywhere, I don't care about it.
Right.
There's like,
I just saved both of these.
everybody's happy.
RGB effects have to be.
Last year I had some,
Yeah.
the spiral, incandescent spiral,
Websites, networks.
Freeze. they were saying it holds water. I mean, I knew my front yard floods. I looked for things, I put that area, like, to spend out of the water, I have to be those, I'll probably be there again. I just have to be very careful how I, run the power bill. There are 120 volts and not,
I don't need to change.
The other problem is that the ground fault
There, so I
is
got
going to
networks,
trip
and then I got
at 5 million.
now, I can change
Okay,
that.
so if you have 2 cords in that receptacle, it's going to trip at 5 million. If you have 1 in there, it's going to trip at 5 million.
basically it's gonna triple anything, it's either leaking from neutral
I
ground
guess it
or
doesn't
hot.
matter here. Should I?
Oh,
Should I go ahead and-
neutral is
I'm just changing
ground,
something.
so.
It's ground at one point.
No, but there's not many ones, keep it.
That's it. There's 5 million difference between neutral and ground.
Like all my IPs are in the 10, 10.
Yeah, but it
So I
takes
got 10, 10, 20, 30.
I mean,
This is
design-
10, 11.
This is all
nice
nice
because-
volts on it at night.
Most hardware systems
Yeah.
won't let that go from public.
You will.
IPs.
And the rain is level, that's.
Think of the name, ground fault in Russian. It breaks ground fault. And then-
Anything that leads to the ground, that doesn't get returned.
Now the rest of the
Right.
doesn't matter.
Right. It maintains safety. It's the same, but maintains safety.
Now,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you have an outlet, trips at 5 minutes, no matter if it's 1 cable or 2 in there.
Or 20 or 30.
factor.
I'll just ask because I'm gonna have a box like this, so.
How, this is where I get lost. Where do I get
Power,
But it's not AC. It's not AC.
Okay,
So therefore, it's from
I just want to turn it on to bring up the model.
Unless it somehow looks back
Like
like
work,
your
like,
power supply. and grid
Okay, so right now,
Isolation
you
of power
can select
supply.
any effect and hit this
I was
one
still
button.
thinking on these, ground stations
yeah,
for, incandescent signals.
Well,
So I will have that, I have 3 or 4 inches off there, those things are great, but yeah.
Don't worry about rain.
I can't really worry a whole lot about
bring
it.
them out, putting.
I mean, I do my best to make sure it's, there's gonna be water running into it, I always leave an exit point.
Yeah.
The thing, I walk back and take it around it, I use and remove my
I
exit
can
point.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of moisture inside. If it's not tight enough, keep moisture out, that's just.
Or you can put an order in for no rain during the trips.
Yeah.
Yeah, how long does that work?
My priority was not ever high enough to stop.
It gets delivered when you're trying to grow that.
There could be issues in security.
That's when they order it.
Now,
But when you, when it pops off.
out for the light.
And you open this, now they get you, actually, the third drive, you get, go about 6,000
And
gallons.
I'll play it here or play it there.
No, plain.
Oh, what was the first thing?
It's fun.
Nothing.
You go above 2,000, you get, into the different, pricing.
I wonder if the channel
Channel.
Yeah.
And, a 1 gallon difference is being different.
Oh, it sure is.
$75 bill a month.
I have to start here with 2801. How do I force it? Change one of these others to some time.
That's what we want.
So you want to edit that one?
Oh, I know what I should have done. Those ones that I could have dummied these up as universe, saying I need 336 or 44. down there. And then
Yeah,
come back. That's the one thing about the Nutcracker, is keeps track of the channel map.
Not to say that you do, but you could have a.
I'll just call them all. What was that when people walked up as I was hearing out? So I'm gonna do 6 and 4.
Oh, really?
Add it
So,
on.
so
Next
you
one down there,
have
right
your
there,
channel 761 in your
I'll just add 2 more down here.
And usually it's me and my wife. And the house gets through that. We're going over mine.
I had,
I watched that in the original that I just saved.
I had a problem, I had to shut the
So
water.
right here, I'm right.
It's I guess it's a gate valve.
Yeah, no, they're all very.
So, I turned it back on,
Why
and I guess I didn't get it all the way over.
will it not let me add, oh.
It's like 80%.
Maybe I think,
The metering go down
okay.
for the next, until either they know that
Because I'm out.
straight,
Yeah.
because it's not a little bit. I didn't notice anything different in the house, but water meter, the meter didn't read right. It read in my favor, I believe. For whatever reason,
So did anybody bring anything to sell?
so.
Got them way down here.
Because it puts them at the bottom, you're gonna have to move them up.
I actually,
Select.
Did it test?
Oh, that's what I-
My house?
Right there.
I went out and took a photograph of the water meter,
Can't go very fast, huh?
turned everything off, let it sit there, photograph again. Okay, then,
Yeah, but the thing is, it looks like you've got 2 forms.
That's all right, I don't care, because I just want to kill channels.
I came back home.
This one.
Photograph again and then turn that on, and then I
That's
told
cool,
Scout.
they give me the same number, same,
Local city, we get Scout
channels.
again, before I have pictures of you.
Yeah, yeah, highlight.
Yeah.
And a lot of
funny
funny stuff.
Oh, that's what it's fair. Wait a minute.
You can
I'm
have-
probably bringing just another 6,000 gallons a month.
Well, output to different
And it was
items.
actually reading, I can load
They
it.
put different controllers.
I tried
Okay, now,
Now, this
When you
is
go to my
right
website,
here,
you don't
one, it does.
charge me.
yeah, so something else you can do too.
It's like a whole
Test
bill.
You can select.
Gallon,
You
it's
can
just
test
like a
all,
whole-
you can test all of your lights there.
Like that. $5 or $6 per 100 gallons.
Or you can select them all, and you can see what
And what I saw different there was,
You just turn it on.
you have to.
well, you gotta, okay, so you gotta check them first.
It is.
Yeah.
You gotta check
So they're
them.
Yeah. Okay,
And then here, you pick whatever you want. So you can have your chase.
No.
Remote.
Right. Now you can't see.
I could go.
Oh, we got something.
Oh.
Good, okay, so that's good. We're rocking the right channels. So that one's, turn that off. So they don't select,
They try to cause the receiver.
Nutcracker. Back. Start. Here.
And since I'm paying the taxes to pay the guys, I know, so I read the lights.
There you go.
Don't have a big problem.
Wow.
Going crazy.
It's going
I
crazy.
do have a.
Okay, now the effects are over here.
He's one thing,
That's meteors, but I've got a lot more meteors.
He ran on
Everybody's
He's
trails.
conservative.
Yeah.
The city should have enough money for a road.
Cool.
Not watch what it spends, but more.
Well, Wake County had a problem with the drought. Oh, water companies, said, oh, save us, conserve.
Take the.
And then they
We
got
did,
They got more ratings.
and then after.
Oh, yeah, look at it
we
here.
started using water, we didn't go up to the previous
Think you
level,
got-
so we stayed.
It's pretty intense.
You got
Ah.
one, this one's out.
Came back, but
He was on when we all turned on.
we're wasting it.
So he's out in.
Well, they gotta raise the rates.
So maybe the watch.
They wanted to keep the profit up.
Well, no, all the
Right. Hang on a minute, I gotta get that.
Unless it's a private road. Anyway, it's like constant revenue. I agree.
Lights off.
I just stopped the effect.
Oh, whoa.
We're a lot brighter when you're.
Lights
Lights
off.
Oh, stop now, is that it?
How you gonna work from it?
Yeah, I like that better.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
That's interesting.
My wife wants snowflakes this year. I'm in trouble.
There you go, they're off now.
Then you broke it.
Change it back to output to lights, because that needs to have the
Right.
output in it, or I was sending the command nowhere. Yeah. What's this RGB sequence?
Okay, so this play is when you actually go to sequence it, and you go through
Yeah.
with effects as you're building. your
Oh,
sequence.
with your timing marks, well, you're looking at your real one.
Right, this is.
Right here, I'm just playing with the model.
Right. Okay, that one appears to be working now.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yep, they all appear to be working.
I'm not looking at my show. It doesn't look very good. But yeah, they're intense.
But it doesn't really. I'm sorry, Danny, I forget. I got the drive, it's an SSD drive, which. How much file you might pay for it? And for compiling when you write the data.
You can't owe me enough, just show up and start working. You'll be building coral flakes, you'll be wiring cables 24 hours a day. I only allow sleep every other day, and Thursday's off.
Thursday's off, okay?
Yeah. I do that on purpose, Thursdays when the doctors are closed on Thursday. All right, so that, now it's starting to work.
Oh, I got
Nice thing to be there. What's the thickness of that core flex?
Range.
What's the thickness of that core flex?
Oh, that's the smaller one, I think it's the 4x4. I don't know.
Probably 4.
That looks like, that's millimeter, sounds smaller than that.
I'm gonna probably see how the things. It looks like it's not.
Yes, that's what I remember, 4 something. Let's see, millimeter.
The problem is, I don't know how it's gonna work with my, now I'm on 4,000. So, I might run into some issues and hope the Joe, the owner of the HLS, he helped me out to kind of make it happen. Without him, I was heading,
I don't know how to get the second effect on there. Effect 1.
so 12 minutes, nothing big.
So they were effects, they.
And
Just wanted to reveal
just
this.
and already the other stuff, I haven't done anything yet. And then I'm like, these guys, they do more to that before for it, it's like 2 months. It's like I'm like, oh my God.
This year, what it looks like it's doing, right? You guys spiral and blink on it. That's trying to merge it.
Red and green now. It's your booth everything.
It was really easy. I spent more time on the basic. And if you guys have some workshop where you can,
Yeah.
I don't have anything, I have to borrow something from my friend.
We get a brother that does. Not us, we do this.
Oh, I do it for this.
Yeah, what do I do with that? Yeah, we can produce it. We did.
Yeah, I don't have any, Microsoft, I had to work with Microsoft.
That's, I was not there, I'm just. It's good quality.
Yeah.
Do you know what the space is?
It's a centimeter by centimeter, so you're.
Yeah.
So it was much more, but it's like.
That would be for the, is that and all that else for?
Yeah.
I can't remember anything anymore.
Yes, it's much better. But, you know, when I came here, we used to live in apartments and my wife, she always like smartphone with something else.
Yeah.
You know, when you live in an apartment, there's no, people do something, we do it, and that's it. And we didn't know that in neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's here, yeah.
You know, we started to look for a house, and he runs a lot. People have their decorations around. Then I got.
You take that to the next.
That's the model, there's the model I built by just clicking a 15.
Did you look online for people were doing, that's pretty cool.
It's cool, you know, I had to use 45 degrees, that makes it right, so I just work straight out. But it's good enough that when I do like, if I do a color wash, you can tell, or if I do some kind of a, I want to learn some spirals.
Oh, yeah.
They need spirals.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah.
I'm gonna look at the more online. I used to know that,
He really, I guess, was like, we were talking, I mean,
There were before it, there were some guys, but it wasn't so big, but he has it, you know, he presented it with snow and.
Yeah.
That's
Well, it's not long, I have that kind of thing, yeah, that's pretty fair. That's where a lot of that started. Yeah.
He was running everything in Edison, so.
Yeah, this one's, yeah, that one looks like it's going out more.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a lot of cables as well, I think, but I don't have anything.
And I don't know why, so you do that. I mean, thousands of lives on each trip. And that's just kind of like it's going to be like contemporary stuff. Because, you know, it's like, it's like doing numbers of lives and
So you have to worry about power and everything.
yeah, it's less cable. And it's low voltage. Yeah, it's not.
For example, so many, have some orders on streets, identity streets.
So Danny, if you hover over that drop down, don't actually open it, it'll pop over and tell you exactly what you do. If you hover over that drop down,
If I open up what?
if you hover,
It is this phone, you just open it.
Yeah.
It's.
Oh, is that why that's coming up? I was trying to ignore it, but it's getting in the way.
Just worry about.
I think average is the one that, takes the value of each one, I get it as an average, and I get it.
I still haven't put the copy onto the, that's because I'm also in, I think maybe I'm gonna keep it.
Okay, so later on the final one is, yeah.
It will be almost impossible.
Yeah. You're not gonna have that. One reveals two. Yeah. Yeah, I like the
All right. There's some weird things to be learned here. This is what I remember, Nutcracker has so many different functions that until you learn how to work with each one, it looks really weird.
A little bit overwhelming too.
And see, when you look at it, it looks like it's going to yeah.
I don't know why it's, this is a spiral.
Right. When you run it through fields, it doesn't work the way it is.
This is spirals, but it doesn't,
Yeah, I can see that being a spiral.
Ah, if you just put it on effect one, and then the slider beside it, you change it from effect one to effect two, you can blend it.
manually.
Yeah. So if you have it 50, if the slider at 50, it's half of effect one and half of effect two.
Is that what that slider was?
Yeah. So if I choose two different effects, like I got snowflakes on one and meteors on two, I have the drop down set to effect one or effect two, it really doesn't matter. And then the slider set at 50, it's half one and half two. So it's really a million different combinations.
Software is, what's the real user friendly, yeah. Top stuff here, but more like. Early Windows or all stuff. Yeah. And then you have like a file, and you call that file, you check boxes. You look at going.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know. So we have some choices for what we want to do the rest of the time. I know there's a lot of Lightorama guys here. If you wanted to go through any of the basics of Lightorama, any of the exporting kinds of issues and things like that. Is everybody confident that you've got all your stuff backed up? So every time you start another sequence, you are pulling from a consistent backup, or if you remap your channels, you know how to pull it back into all your songs. Everybody good with all that?
Talking about version control and channel config, yeah.
Yeah, so everybody not.
Maybe network config.
Hmm?
Maybe network configs. How to use a
We can talk about
dongle on DMX.
We could talk about some web that. I'm not sure about that one. You started with a good topic, and then all of a sudden you went into the zone that I've never tried. Does that sound like a good idea? Does anybody want to talk about how you set up E131 and lore and how that works? Or would you rather talk about, we said we'd talk about timing arcs. I've done that one a couple of times. Or we could go in, we could bring up Nutcracker and talk about the basics of Nutcracker, how you set up your channels in Nutcracker. What's desired here? Speak up.
How many people are using Nutcracker?
Not enough.
I'm trying.
Not yet.
It's as much as I've ever done.
How many people are not using it but want to use it?
Yes.
So actually, you're using it under the covers. HLS is an extract of Nutcracker, I believe. So I think Sean's core is what everybody uses. Sean Megan, is that how you pronounce his last name? So I mean, we want to go into that. I know we have a few people that kind of know a little bit more about it, especially Peter knows more than he thinks he knows. I know you've been mostly just doing X-Lights. And Joe's probably, he was doing a pretty good job of pointing, even though you use it under the covers.
Well, I used it for a little while, playing around with it, and actually did a few sequences, and it's actually pretty easy to have it generate a whole sequence for you, and then go back and take out what you don't like.
Probably the key to, I guess, is the timing, I guess. Well, you just have to kind of play around with, I guess, Well, I think part of the issue too is that exporting out of Nutcracker and getting it back into LOR, if you're using LOR as your show editor and sequence editor, you know, getting it back into there and getting all the channels to line up so that, you know, when you actually play it, it actually will play.
Yeah, I think they have to say the preferred way, and I'm not doing it. Well, they're saying the preferred way, you know, is actually export, I mean, import your LMR stuff into Netcracker and then, yeah, you know, there's an easy way to keep your stuff in LMR there, and then just add your Netcracker stuff and then actually play it all in Netcracker. I'm not doing that, but they're saying that's the preferred way.
Well, but, okay, so, but the one problem with that is that if you haven't switched over your LOR controllers to DMX, your LOR controllers won't work.
Pretty much you have to do that.
Right. So, because, you know, I was at Christmas Expo, and one thing I'd love to do is I would just love to move everything there and use the Raspberry Pi and just let that run my entire show. At that point, I don't need any computer, nothing. It's all programmed there, you hear the show, boom, go.
What I want to do.
You know, and not only that, but the newest one that they came out with.
You had it, then it went away, okay?
Also has the HDMI output.
Put 'em up there.
Also has projector output and all that other fun stuff.
Those not supported.
So that'll probably be something I'll look at next year, but for this year, I need to be able to go back and forth, between LOR.
Got it back.
Well, I'm looking at, I was just playing around creating a little Nutcracker effect and show here X lights, but there is an export button. One of the drop downs is an export button, is LOR clipboard.
Yeah.
Right.
You basically write that.
Right. Well, the thing is, though, is that,
And
so you
mode
gotta go,
not-
so it goes to an LOR clipboard, and then from there, you actually have to from what I understand, copy and paste from that clipboard into your LOR sequence. So, what you have to pray and hope that you've got those two.
Well, I think
Those
those
are
are
set up.
yeah, you get the channel configuration.
Right.
And then you get set up right.
Right.
Right, good. That's in the setup.
Oh, crap, now how do I reverse? Anybody remember how you swap?
What happens too is, I got to do a sample sequence,
Should be back the same way.
not a sample sequence in, X license. You know, 10 meg, and export that to your.
There you go.
You know, 200 meg, that way.
Yeah, exactly, that's the problem, those.
I got it on here, but not on.
So you wanna put it back, so you wanna duplicate that.
I'm on extend, but how do I switch the two? Was it function F5?
Duplicate.
Oh, you drag one, go, hit
So, well, okay, say okay there.
okay, and now grab, hit okay.
Okay.
I don't have anything over here. Oh, it's to the right.
Yeah, and now grab one, and then slide it over to the other
Here we
side,
go.
too.
No, so grab the number where the number one is.
Yeah, I can bring that over here. Oh, grab one.
So if you grab one and move it over
There you
there.
go.
Now.
Apply.
Apply.
And you're done.
And that should put it back on you.
Yay! I had this thing over there a minute ago. Okay. So this is better. I think I have Laura running here somewhere. Let's go to, panorama control panel, I think. With this resolution so high, I'm having trouble still. Maybe I can do it this way. ThinkPad still thinks it's, So leave number 2. This
You're
one.
trying to eight for.
Just any tree. I set them up in the model, a couple of things, just play around.
There we go. Now I can find my way around. I think. See what's running. There's the lore sequence editor. Hardware utility is called now. Huh? They keep changing the name. Anybody notice that they keep changing the names of things on the hardware panels? Let me see if I can get us there. What is it in here? No. Bring it back over here. Okay. Hardware utility, okay. When you right-click on your light bulb, everybody knows that that's where you get all your setup stuff. And there's one called Network Preferences. And this is what it looks like. Let's get rid of this one. That's the test panel. So for lore itself, you can I'm sorry. Lore itself, you define normally like you would do whatever COM port you're on, etc. And I'm not sure how this runs with the hardware control panel, but most of us are used to running this one. I don't have my adapter with me, but you set up your COM port right here. Everybody knows all that stuff. Find the COM and set it up. Not exactly sure what this is about, but I think there are ways of running your LoRa network over E131 and having a LoRa adapter attached to the same as you'd attach a DMX port, only so you can come through the E131 pipe, talk to LoRa controllers. The important thing is for your why this doesn't show what I have in right now. Aha, there it is. That's in the fan column. Right click on the star on the light bulb. Network preferences. Bring it back. Okay. Where?
Yeah, it was in advance for that.
Well, here's the odd thing. I thought I had my sequence editor running.
No, very soon though. They should be already pretty much done. They just start some testing or something.
I thought I could go right to this. I haven't been there for a year, but dang it. There's all my. Everything in my show. But when I go to advanced, I should see all my DMX networks here, and I'm not. So I'm not a whole lot. What the heck is going on?
That's one mine, right? Under DMX.
Yeah, right there, and then here's where you see your adapters. Put in the IP address. I wonder why I was able to. Maybe I should have restarted. Well, you know, I've been running this X-Lights thing. I think it's somehow confused in its databases, templates or something. The sequence editor is taking this good old time going away. I'm going to close, unload it, reload it. and it might help to turn off X lights. I think it could be messing me up.
So just probably, yeah.
Oh, that did learn.
That's okay.
You have to turn
Lights
lights
off.
off there. And then it still doesn't work, but hey, I'm gonna shoot that way and expose the whole thing. So, bring it back to Panorama. There we go, I got the little, this little guy. I'll say, okay, I got the bulb in the tray, I'm gonna right click and go to Network Preferences. And this is very odd, guys. I don't know what's happened to my network. This is all my show. I don't get it here. Unless I had accidentally opened up something that was a folder. Sequence editor. Background image file does not exist. That doesn't like my house. But then it should have. It's working. Try again for the network preferences. Going back to you. You better show all my stuff. Well, I guess we'll define it from the start. Basically, you've got everything laid out for a universe. And you'll come up here and let's say you've got let's see, we don't have an adapter, but I know that first you want to say you want to use E1.31. You know, we were talking about addresses multicast and unicast before, but you turn on E131. This is network preferences on the right click of on the light bulb. Turn on. Lightorama uses their own address for multicasting. They still specify address. I was thrown off by this when I first did it, and so when this comes up, if you're going to use multicast, which I recall doing, then just ignore this.
What is that? Is that 255, 255?
No, it says 239, 255, 0, and 1.
Yeah, that's in the multicast IP range.
They've got a reason, yeah, they've got a reason that they use that. So, right. So use adapter is when you have a USB-based DMX device, if you had a DMX dongle. So, in fact, on my network, Universe 1 happens, and there's no adapters in here. I don't, you know, this is, here we go. I've got an NTEC. You've either got an NTEC, you can have a real NTEC, but NTEC USB Pro is the generic kind of standard out there for USB adapters. So in my case, you use one of those and it would still look and see if it finds an adapter, and it doesn't. So for some reason this, oh, that's why this whole thing's messing up.
You can't find the adapter.
I had to, IBM's been sued for like 8, 9 years by somebody. 170 of us had to give images of our whole entire computers recently. And so to do that, I had to uninstall all this software. I don't use IBM's equipment to play my show, but I do have it on there so that if I have a few minutes at lunch, which Tom's office is next to mine, how much spare time do we have?
0.
I've had the notion that I might do it. You might hear me once in a while, like 5:30, you'll hear some crazy music going or something, but we're just like driven. But, so I have it on here, but it's lost all those drivers. Getting these installed, you have to basically follow Lightorama's instruction. You have to go out to Timbuktu crazy websites and get the driver for your DMX adapter done. But it doesn't use that. It won't, I don't know if it'll let me save this adapter now. Oh, I did take it, and it said it was universe number 1. So then I clicked on here for universe number, I clicked for universe number 2, but let's say just for the heck of it, you wanted to use universe number 7 for your next one. And you wanted to take a E131 device and do it. Set it up multicast. That's all you have to do. With Lightorama, it's super simple to actually tell Laura to use it. And then you're going to be able to go into the DMX menus where you select the controller type when you're putting in
Denny,
finding songs. Yeah.
when you use a lower dongle
Yeah.
for DMX, it's raw DMX. I remember that
Is it?
from the
Okay.
research. So,
So let's do a raw DMX. Let's say we're going to try and put the Lord dongle on Universe 2. Let's see if this will work.
if you don't have it defined in your lower network, you should be able to pop up on your,
Yeah.
if you have a lower dongle.
Right now, it doesn't even recognize my Lord dongle, but that's again, I just realized I've never reinstalled. You have to even do that dumb driver for your Lord.
Yeah, you have to have the
So,
serial adapter.
yes, yeah, so I'm in bad shape on this box. But I'm bet you that under raw DMX, I think you're right, and when you click on adapter, you would see your Lord adapter, it would probably say DMX wiring or DMX mode for this. But the really simple thing is that all you do is define these universe. All you do is just literally put your device in and tell it whether it's unicast to your IP or multi, and right there on the universe number. When you so you may have to close the lower suite stuff. I think that would be for I'm going to show an example here.
Yeah, when you change network preferences, you do have to shut down, restart.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
I was wondering if it
I
was
think
just like
so.
a sequence editor.
The sequence editor loads the network preferences. So it can, let you add and remove
So if
channels.
I kill that like this, I don't want to save it anyway, but we're going to go like this. And I think,
The thing is, this is probably not going to be updated this year. It's going to be next year.
let's start one, where'd he go? There he is. Ah, sorry, it's over here.
This computer doesn't want anything to do with products or, yeah, but it's just.
Okay, now, we've got some new channels here, and you can do a, let's see, edit. Let's get the server.
According to mine, you right click and, well,
So if we wanted to do,
you do a
insert,
new, yeah, you do a device, So you insert device, and then you convert that device to RGB channels.
So we'll just say it's device above. We're gonna call it, we'll just leave it their default right now for DMX, but we're gonna call this, we're gonna use Universe 7.
So Denny, I have a question. When Mike was doing his videos, he was telling me that he uses several different DMX universes, but not fully populated. So if he just like uses like 20 channels or whatever, is this where you would just say use 20 channels?
Yeah, hold on, we're gonna do this. We're gonna go in here and I'm gonna put this on that. There's a couple of odd things. Boy, seems really giving me a hard time.
He's giving him a hard time too. He's having the same issues.
Part of it's just me, because I'm on the, I'm trying to, I don't see it down here, I'm not on the, I couldn't get the two screens to run at the same resolution, so I'm split. Leave it on Universe 12, go ahead, be that way, I don't care. One of the odd things you have to do is Laura thinks in terms of 16 channel stuff, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about the channels you need for the DMX up and then go a little bit beyond it in their numbers. I'm just going to make something up quickly. Let's say we're going to have 20 strings of 50, well, that'll fit in there. No, it won't fit into one universe. I'm only going to do the portion for the one. That's another thing you have to do with Laura's stay. You don't overfill the universe and then go to the next thing, next one. You can't do it nicely contiguous like you can with all these other sequencers where you just go right on through. You use all 510. You probably could actually. Let's attempt to just do a full universe on. I'm trying to get to 7 if it'll let me. There we go. And I want to go I want to use 512, all 512, so something's really messing me up. What is it? There's 512. We're putting in the full universe, and in a second I'm going to show you something. Because you know 512 doesn't divide by 3, 510 does, and that's why SanDisk chose, or SanDevices chose to do it that way. So we just put that in, and then we're gonna do. You said we have to insert channels now.
No, what you highlight that one, and then right click, and should be able to convert to RGB channel right there. You might need to open it.
It's got them all in there.
Yeah, so now leave it open, leave it expanded,
Then where's the convert?
because the convert's grayed out. Convert to RGB channel is grayed out.
Yeah, what's with that?
So highlight DMX7 again and expand it.
It wants me to open it?
Yeah, now right click and it should be there. Convert to
you're
RGB
right.
channel.
And then it's going to tell me also for the following channels.
Right, so you want to do the following
So
channels.
it's going to take them in order, red, green, and blue. Going to do this for this channels, and we're going to do that for
170.
how many RGB channels? That's right, 170. So now there should be 170 pixels, and there should be 2 more standing at the bottom by themselves. Remember we put 512 in there?
Mm-hmm.
So we can get rid of those.
They're taking that channel too, you can never use them anyway. They
Could
but,
use it anyway, that's right. And there we go. And now the other thing is you could go through this thing and I don't know, let's say we're, how many RGBs? Let's say there's some pretty short strings on here. You can, 25, you can group. And grouping lets you do a start and an end. So you can take this thing and go to 25. If we had to happen to have 25, Laura's got this big attitude about themselves, so I'll tell you what, so stupid. I should have given it a name, but I think I can change the name.
So how do you know what the channel number is though?
Right there.
Right, it's DMX Universe 7, channel 1, but now if you're a nutcracker, how do you know what channel?
Ah, there you go. Some very good stuff. Let's bring Nutcracker over here on the screen.
So if you're laying down nutcracker, how do you know that you've got the right?
And then I gotta start it. Okay. Here's the configuration for Nutcracker. And this is not gonna work. Let me get out of here. This was the one I kludged to get this going for you guys. I gotta get rid of that. I got 1 second. I gotta go to a folder and put my default back in so I can put my show and show you. I will explain why in a minute. X-Lights installed. There we are. And where did that folder just go? There we have it. Put it over here. Boy.
It's the first one you want, I think, the original.
No, I know, I'm trying to I gotta rename this one. Dang it. Now it's trying to open this stupid thing. Boy, this is hard to do with one screen here. Okay, I'll follow your method. Is this thing still running? It won't let me do it. There's something still holding it or something. Something in the background. Because it went to Windows Explorer and opened itself, opened the XML. No, that's why it's doing it. It won't let me rename it. So X-Lights must be running somehow. Task Manager, Team Viewer, X-Lights. What's Team Viewer have to do with anything? No, that was the X-Lights tutorial the other night. Not shown. All right, maybe we'll try this way. X-Lights, other programs, browse. Anybody remember where X-Lights puts its default local disk? Oh, it's program files, right?
The program files X lights.
Yeah, I thought so, but I'm in program files and it's not here. Oh, program files x86. X-Lights exe. Open. Sheesh, this is a bunch of work. Unrecognized parameters. Oh, there we got it, finally. All right, so here's, no, that's not it. It opened X-Lights. Want it? I can't get X-Lights up anymore with my channels to show you guys this stuff. I got kludged channels in there to try to get this thing going.
So if you copy that file back over, it didn't overwrite it.
I don't know, maybe I could.
So the X-Lights Network original.
That's the one I want.
So you need to rename the other one.
I can't, won't let me. Look, it opens.
There it goes.
Nope, closes the menu.
There you go.
Close enough, I got it for that. Look, it's really struggling on something though. There's some, X-Lights is not unloaded from my system somehow.
You know, Jenny, I've had problems with running X-Lights and then LOR, battling each other, not releasing control sometimes of each other. Hardware.
And that could be, yeah, because they're both trying to output E131 data
Yeah.
to the same network.
Conflict there.
What a pain. All I can do is explain to you that X-Lights numbers all their channels from 1 to infinity. Whereas the architecture of LoRa always says it's universe X, channel whatever. Universe 1, channel 1 to 510. Universe 2, channel 1 to 510. X-Lights goes channel 1 through 1020. And then you go in and
multiple universes.
yeah, it spans multiple units, and it just keeps going and just numbers them.
That's how.
So basically, you need to do a mapping then between you need to do a hand mapping on a piece of paper between your DMX universes and the channels that are going to be associated in.
Even including your LoRa, so I'm going to attempt to unload all this stuff.
The way X-Lights works is more
I really want to bring.
Yeah, so I mean, but that's why I'm trying to match up the channels and say, okay, in LOR, are you going to get, because Nutcracker's right, Nutcracker's going to do 1 through infinity as your channels.
Right, I can
LOR is just doing your DMX universes.
Go back to what LoRa's history was. 16 channel controllers, 8 channel controllers. Even in CCR, they still think of it as 16 channel controllers.
Right, so
That's our whole mindset. That
So-
we're gonna have individual controllers. or
So my
individual
question-
universes.
So then my question becomes, if I had DMX universe 1, 2, 3, okay,
Channels 512 through.
how do I match those up, except to do a hand mapping
You have to do a hand mapping.
between those channels and what Nutcracker is going to
Well,
get?
511 would be universe 2.
No, 513 would be universe 2.
Well, on my standing, I can limit to 510.
Okay.
So 511 would be the next universe. Big channel 1.
Okay.
511 to 1020.
Yeah, the control.
1020.
Channel 1. Yeah.
I'm gonna show you this, and this was the reason that this thing wasn't working when we turned it on. I removed the LoRa and the DMX network because X-Lights was airing out because I didn't have my dongles.
Right.
So it wouldn't let me get past them. So when I did that, I just deleted those. Well, then it started numbering all my channels differently. So when I got up to Universe 5, it was down around 2,400 and something. But Universe 5 on my setup starts with 2801, according to my little map. I'll show you. In fact, I took a little print screen of it. Oh, why I could have just shown this. There we go. So this is my LoRa channel map. And I decided that 336 channels was probably going to be enough for all of LoRa forever. This is a little bit more than I have. I think I have 320 in LoRa now or something like that.
20 controllers, huh?
Yeah. And so I put an extra one on there. I know I'm not going to buy any more. I'm trying to leave 3 controllers spare, in fact, right now, so I'm really going to assign 17. But anyway, I assigned in Nutcracker that the first 336 channels are always going to be exported to LoRa. It also means if I take programs back and forth, if I bring LoRa in or take it back out, I have to have 336 channels in there. So in my LoRa, I'm going to dummy up a couple controllers that I don't have. Put them in there, they're not going to be used for anything. I'll assign them in a group and collapse them, but they will be there because Nutcracker to talk to LoRa takes exact number of channels and just brings them over and drops it on.
Yeah, and it doesn't do anything with them. It just.
Yeah. And if you want to avoid collisions of any kind at all, LoRa should be first. So make sure you're down here, 1 to 336. Then I was looking at all my other channels and I was playing around and I said, well, DMX, I want a DMX network because I'm taking, I'm going to run a dongle off of my laptop, a simple DMX dongle that's going to come out of my garage right there and it's going to run all the spotlights. I don't know how many I've put down this year, but all the spots are just going to be looped together. There's not that many channels. There's a couple other little things, I can't remember what they are. But I still wanted to leave room for a bunch of stuff in case later I decide to use some of my those DMX controller, Renard controllers. I built a bunch of those from DIYC. I still have them. They died immediately when I put them out last 2 years ago. I don't know why. So I'm saving them. A lot of people want to buy them from me, and I said I really want to understand why I killed them. Because when I talked to guys on DIYC about it, they said that the network can't do that. And if they were all tested and working, yeah, they tested them one at a time. They work beautifully. So they don't get it either. They think it might be a clock issue, but they won't run by themselves now. I gave a bunch of channels, and I actually played around with the number so that I could get my universes starting at least some kind of a round. I wanted them to start with something beginning with a 1. Because channel 1 through something, it was just easier for me, because that's forever you have to keep track of the numbering. And if you come down here in universe, any one of these below, and you're using, let's say I'm using Universe 5 for my coral flame. If I come down here and just change this to 300, pick a number, it's going to renumber all those things, and now your pixels aren't going to come out in the same spot. Because once you get this map together, this is exactly how it's going to go in and out of Lightrama. Now, if this is my player, and all I'm doing is sequencing over there at LoRa, and I bring in only the LoRa and DMX channels, and I leave all the sequencing of these to be done right here in Nutcracker, then I would never have that issue. I could have no problem.
Right, because you would never worry about it. You would do your LoRa sequencing in Sequence Editor, you import it all into Nutcracker and
And then add the other effects.
Add Nutcracker effects and let X-Lights play everything.
Yep.
However, The issue with that is that your LOR has to be set for DMX.
Yeah, so
Or it
then-
has to be able to accept DMX because X lights and stuff won't do the LOR protocol by default.
yeah, it does, and the player doesn't recognize a network type of lore. So if I was gonna play it here, I'd have to change this to DMX.
And then your
And I still
controller,
have to though keep this exact number of channels, and then I have to wire all my lore controllers with their, as DMX devices. Which you can do once we got comfortable. We need to find, I know that a few guys have written it, it's probably on Do-It-Yourself Christmas, there's a one pager that just tells you flat out, here's all you do to wire a lore controller.
yeah.
And as I remember, you only wire, on a particular run, you only have to wire the first one.
Right.
Then when you loop them together, they're
Well,
all
that's-
DMX.
That's why what I understood is whatever the dongle comes out of the USB. So if you do a USB dongle to a USB to DMX dongle coming out of the laptop.
It's already wired DMX.
That's wired DMX and you don't have to do anything on your LOR controllers.
Just
is what I
plug it in if you're
understand.
using the same Cat5.
Right.
If you
is
use
what I
a lower
understand.
dongle in raw mode,
Yes.
your wiring's already correct. But it's gonna send DMX protocol out of it, rather than lower protocol out of it. You
Okay.
the controller's gonna detect that and say, okay, I'm DMX.
Because before the software could do that, we used to have to do is reverse wires, right?
No, you shouldn't have reverse wires. That's only when you mix different
Yeah.
manufacturers.
All you should have to do, all you should have to do is change the dongle, change the USB dongle. And
Right.
that should
Oh.
change all of your.
Yeah, because it's the pin 1 and 2 versus pin, which is 4 and 5.
Right, because from what I understand in talking with my guys at Wildlights, who I buy my controllers from,
Yeah.
the controllers do both natively. They can accept both. LOR is by default,
Yeah.
but he told me if you come out with a DMX dongle off USB, that'll convert everything to DMX and the controllers will pick it up. The only thing you don't get is you lose like the special effects out of LOR.
That's correct.
Like you don't get
Yeah.
Sugar, you don't get twinkle.
Right, you don't get twinkle, you don't get shimmer,
Yeah.
but you get everything else.
And both of them are really nice. The DMX Twinkle and the DMX Shimmers that I've seen are really kind of crappy. Laura's Shimmer is not very useful, but there is a place when the music's kind of suspended, boom, you know.
Well,
The end of one of those songs, I can't remember.
And yes, and part of my issue is that I happen to use those quite frequently,
Yeah,
both Twinker and Shimmer.
yeah.
So,
So but in here, if you're gonna do it, to be able to freely go back and forth, you should always define lore first. Make sure that lore actually has that number exactly of channels installed. And then your DMX, it doesn't have to be DMX next. But it does take,
well, E131 has to be last.
that's right.
So whatever you have above that, what needs to be defined before the E131.
Yeah. Yep. And notice that it doesn't give me a universal number for DMX here. That's because it just, it knows that this is gonna be a driver at COM5 off of your USB port here on your laptop. If you happen to have if you were using your first bank on an E682 as a DMX output, which is a standard configuration for it, you don't have to define it DMX. It's just E131, and it's in whatever universe you want it to be. You don't have to call it DMX. You only have to use the DMX type if you're going to assign it to a COM port. E131 is also DMX. But it knows here that this goes out over the network ports, and this goes to a driver on the laptop that comes on the COM ports.
You just define it in the SAN device and not do anything different.
Yeah, it's still an E131 then, and it could be in if you happen to have the SAN device first channel wired to universe 10, and that's the DMX you take off, then everything you put in universe 10 in your software would be where those channels would show up.
So, but now again, this goes back to my question though. Let's say with that definition right there, you said that you're gonna start at,
Denny, say hi.
Hmm? Oh, Sam!
Oh,
He froze.
okay. You hung up.
We did. Bye. It's delayed, but not that much. Did
No.
Bob leave already?
Yeah, I think he did. He says it's totally, here he comes again, somebody's calling him.
Probably Sam.
Not connected.
If he shows back up, we'll do a 1, 2, 3, and everybody will look at the camera and go, "Hi, Sam." We'll give him a choreographed hello. Maybe. Is he trying back in? Or is it just
Not yet.
you? You see one person and it's you, right?
Yeah, it comes up and says you. But he actually popped up there, and here comes somebody again. Doesn't say who it is yet.
His network might not be stable.
Sam, it is Sam, no picture. Hey Sam, no picture.
Is he in?
I can't tell if he can see us or not. He's not talking. Okay.
Hey, there he is. You have any sound?
Speak, Sam. Do you hear us?
Can you hear us?
He froze up again.
Um,
And my connection may not be as good as it needs to be.
yeah, he's probably on.
He's on his phone. Like the aspect ratio.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, if he makes it back. Anyway, so the whole notion is that Nutcracker X-Lights wants to start numbering at channel 1 and just go on indefinite. I was about to try to get that Christmas display stuff. X-Light sequences of audio files. And
so you just have to do a manual hand.
I have a relative that down near me. And she
Hey,
shared
Sam, you're talking.
for
is that him?
the year already. I'm like,
Sister lives in Juneau, Alaska right now, so her husband's in
You live on this now? You live on this?
to Alaska. She
Say
was
Sam.
in Alaska before on Kodiak Island
right.
with her first husband. And while she was living up in Chicago, she had told me, I swear, it feels colder here than it ever did in Alaska. But I think this past year she out.
Wait a minute, I can't even tell what
Yes, you're probably speaking alien.
I know, I am, yeah.
Telling
Snowflakes are actually in the curtain.
I don't know where I had some cousins and family living in here.
From North Carolina, where nothing wants to be
Oh,
hot.
now we're on the real one. It came up.
Next day it's like
What we've been looking at was a print screen that I happened to have captured last night. I saved, you either want to print this page or do like I did and capture it on a print screen. Because when you're counting your channels and setting things up, you need to remember where you were. And it gets really hard when you have a lot of devices. For example, when you're in the setup, I'm going to just close this as a picture anyway.
At least it's a quiet spot.
I'm in live Nutcracker now.
Did
And when you're setting up Nutcracker,
as far back?
the preview window,
cooler down. It's cooler.
yeah, preview window is where I built these things.
The one right
And you have models of stuff. I happen to have this
Right.
tree here, that's the tubes, and these are row of ornaments below it. I had to build those as separate models.
They were
There's the tree, there's the coral flake right, coral flake left. I wish that
to me like
the size of the, you know how you can change your bulbs, Joe? You can't do that on this one.
waiting for
They just show up as these little dots. You can change the size of it.
What is, there's a lot of construction.
Oh, yeah.
The whole Tree of Life area in Avatar and back by Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was playing, when I was playing around with X lights, my two spotlights are just two dots.
Yeah.
And you can see them.
But here, I'll kind of show you everybody in Nutcracker how you set something up. If you wanted a new device, you can pick out what it's going to be. Like you had your half tree. Let's kind of talk about a half tree.
we'll bring transformers and so they the transformers.
So you come in here and he calls it a tree 180. RGB nodes. How many strings?
Well,
The only thing I hear about Universal is here.
12 and your 50 bulb.
yeah.
And one string per string. Now here's the key.
I couldn't think of the first.
Where to start it. So let me show you again. I'm going to bring back my little screen deal in paint. My cursor back here.
70 times.
Okay, and let's say that I was putting it, let's say I'm putting this in Universe 7. And let's say I already have the first.
The whole.
I'm going to get hard on myself, though. Okay, on it. Well, Universe 7, you can see that channel number 1 starts with 38.
Radio. What the guy started it
I was going to put it there. What you do is come over here to the start channel, and you tell it it's in 3821. And as soon as I click on this thing, I think if I hit enter, it always gives me that dumb message. But notice what it did. It built the whole thing. This is beginning and ending number for each of the 12 strings. And you can also have individual start channels if you want to manually edit it. So if you need to jump some, you could build the model and then you could go modify it to change the start channel numbers, because if you had some other device for some reason you wanted it, you had to skip over some in the middle of that range.
So X-Lights and Lore kind of work, Dixon and X-Lights kind of work the same way.
Same way, but Lore is foreign. Lore you have to break it down to universe and channel number. Huh?
Bring back up your Lore thing. It still shows it, it's just on the far right.
I'm going to save this, and then I'll show you something here. I'll see what it did, and you have to actually acknowledge it.
Yeah, but in Lore, don't you have to have DMX channels 1 through 6 defined already? Still?
No, it'll still put it back there. If Lore isn't defined to talk to it, it just won't, it'll be all defined up correctly in X-Lights, and if Lore isn't talk, if you don't find the right universe and channel number, Lore might be trying to talk somewhere else.
Okay.
So, what it did though, so your comment, you want me to bring that back up in that list
No,
again?
I'm just saying, bring your list back up in OR, the list, or your screenshot, either one. So on the far right, it still has the channels 1 through whatever, and then 37 through 7 something, and then 761.
Yeah.
So those are the numbers that you would
So
see.
I said 3821 right here as my start. In Lore, I'd have to tell it was Universe 7, Channel 1.
But in Dixon and X-Lights, you can say 3821.
Still 3821, and everybody except for Lore.
Exactly. So it's not that boring.
It makes it so much simpler this way. It's odd that Lore stays in 16s because of their hardware, And it's even odder that they don't have a notion of numbering. I commented to people a long time ago that LoRa has no sense of internal architecture. That if you assign something to LoRa and all the numbers in its database, and you're doing like an extract, and then you come along and you put 2 channels in the middle, the outside world has an architecture. They would bring over everything and it would follow where it goes straight in. But LoRa would end up with those 2 at the bottom not getting anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Because it doesn't match up the channels. It would take the 2
Yeah.
channels and it would still use them in order, and it would just
Yep.
right over top of it.
Liorama plays with Liorama well.
Yeah.
Liorama doesn't play with anybody.
Anybody well. No.
Exactly.
That's the news.
Yeah, so that little tree that I built very quickly, it does also build them quick in this. And then you can change how big you want it in the display, and I could say I want it over here. This happens to be that tube tree that's in my front yard with the ornaments on the bottom. And this will be my new 1/2 pixel tree with, it's only 25 bulbs high instead of 50. Maybe like a 9-footer or 9-foot something. Huh?
You're gonna fold the strings?
Yeah, up and back. See, I want a lot of strands. So it's gonna look like the upper half of Peter's tree. Because he did all 50 up. And
That's what I'm doing too, is I'm going all 50 up.
and I have 32 around.
Yeah.
I wanted the density around for sure.
I'm doing 32 channels, all 50 up.
Woo-hoo! Okay, so yours is, mine will be exactly the upper half of yours. Mine's going to be, there's that planter between the middle and the right garage. There's a brick planter that juts out in the driveway, and it's going to be right there. And figure out how to put blow molds around that and still keep from hitting them with cars. So I may have to set them up every night or some stupid thing. Take them back down, I don't know. Haven't decided yet, but anyway, this is, notice that these things look like my coral flake. And that's because in the models area, you can, you can go in there and you can number it. Notice, and you start with the channel number, but in this case, you want to define it knowing that it starts with a number 1. Always define your device as if it starts in a new universe by itself. So I define my channels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that goes up this pipe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I had 6, 7, 8, you can't see 8 up here. 8, 9, 10. And 11, going up to there. You got to keep playing. They can't get them all on the display. You got to kind of play around with this. In fact, you can see here's a column that I'm not using. So I could actually use the column width. I could actually change it to make it 1 narrower. And this thing here, if you were defining this thing, and I had to use it. I defined it and I ran into the wall over here and I needed 1 more row.
Oh.
So it actually lets you, if you select this, it lets you highlight the whole thing. I'm not going to follow through on this. You Control-C to copy it. And then go like this, and I can come over here, and if I'm going to abort it, and then if I touched it right there to that B, and then hit Control-V to insert, it'll let me just move that whole thing. It'll put I don't have another row on the right side, so it'll lose all my data. I don't want to do that. I'm gonna not do that. But if you define it all from 1 to whatever, 1 to how many pixels, you can build your own model in a XY matrix. And the reason that that's important to do, if you build custom devices, is because Nutcracker thinks of the space. So if it's sweeping a color in color bars straight across, it'll be able to come straight across your device. But if you didn't give it the model, then it would come over and probably start with pixel 1, and it would just kind of work its way through the ends. it wouldn't know the real space of where the pixels really are, left, right, and top, bottom. So I thought that was really cool that you just follow display as custom, and it brings up this thing, and you tell it how many wide and how many high you want. Apparently, there's something here for three dimensions that they're working on. And but then now you tell it 1 through whatever. But then in actual practice for the one called Flake Left, I told it down here, start channel was 2801, and so it assigns that to number 1 for you, and it just drops it in. There's another view you can get on these, which over here I could get the node layout that it gave, and we'll get this bigger. See it. So there it is. A little better. There we go. That's better, sort of. So that kind of shows a rough representation of what my coil flake is. The aspect ratio is kind of weird on this print, but to look correct, it would need to draw the boxes as squares. But the idea of this one is just to, again, show me node 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll go all the way to node 50. It ends up over there, counts its way around. Anyway, that's about it. I don't like the timing system at all in Nutcracker.
Yeah, that whole 50 millisecond.
Or it uses also, you can use the
Use Audacity.
Audacity, and it actually even uses an XML editor, I guess, so you could actually go in and edit in thousandths of a second your own timing marks. And I guess people have done that because you can go to the lower timing mark and you click on it and it'll tell you exactly what it is. You know, it'll tell you it's 1 minute, 21.035 seconds or something. And in an XML editor, you can, if you learn how to do it, you can put those actual timing marks in your Nutcracker sequence list.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'll have to go that route or not. I'm hoping not.
I had pretty good luck playing Audacity and sites.
See,
In Nutcracker.
I already have some very complex timing marks in my lore songs. And I even have segments in some songs that change. There was the All I Want for Christmas is a 1, 2, 3, 4. And a lot of the stuff I was doing was divide by 8 and some divide by 12. Or divide, yeah, mostly divide by 8, and I was doing a lot of really nice effects, and it was simple. And then there was a break, and then at the end especially, and I wanted to have the beat jingling real nice with the icicles all over the house, and the whole top of the house would be, it would go, you know, and the beats 1, 2, 3, 4, and I wanted to hit those time signatures perfectly. So I actually changed the timing divisions just for those sections of the song, 12s. And then mathematically wrote down in my, kind of made some notes up in my head what the drum beat was, figure out the exact triplets, basically.
There's a lot of triplets if you do that.
There's
a lot of triplets if you do the song.
Yes. And so you see the top of my house jumping at you perfectly on all those little drum fills. Because the drum fills are really loud, they're real dominant at that point in the song. And
When you import that in,
I figured it out.
LOR into Nutcracker, it just saves on it. It keeps all of his timing.
Yes. No, when you bring it over to the Nutcracker, no, it doesn't bring any.
There are no timings. From what I've seen.
Oh, it brings Lore's timings over? Are you sure you didn't have 1/10 of a second in Lore and you brought it over, or you got manual timings?
Now, you talk about just a minute, when you change the timings, is that what you're talking about?
Well,
I'm not making the lower timings in, but.
it does. Oh, see, I haven't learned how to do that yet,
And
so.
then if you can keep all your lower stuff, and then you can only make changes in certain parts of it. You don't do anything. with it.
Good.
When you export it, then you've got all your lower stuff back and all the changes.
See,
I know you can bring in the timing file. When you open, you can bring in the timing file. I think if you gotta have that timing file available. If you can try it, just import from Florida, and you'll see those timing marks. And I'm not sure, if you manually done all those timings, if it changes or if it's just.
That's what's still working, so, does anybody know how to act, well, it would
You
be
just
in the
import,
convert section.
You just import, an LMS file.
Import here, so, the format,
So you gotta choose the
Change
file.
the
LMS right there.
a lower sequence,
Yeah. You're gonna
LMS
change
file.
From LMS to the SC.
Well, alright, so let's go and find,
Yeah, but the output format's wrong.
well, I'm gonna
It's gonna
import,
convert all that.
I wanna import, right, am I in the wrong place for importing?
No. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your LMS file, but your output format is not gonna be LMS, it's gonna be SEQ. And it has to be, and the LMS has to be in the same place as your network.
Map empty LMS channels, do I get to do that?
Yes. I know it won't see it unless you choose file there, unless you.
All channels off
LMS
at
is in
the
the
end.
same, it's in the same place.
Right, so right now, I still wanna choose a file in, right here.
Right, you still gotta choose a file. And the LMS file has to be in the same place as the network. Which you have to move it there first before you. Yeah.
Okay, let me do that.
Yeah, wherever you choose your setup, that's why as part of the setup, Sean recommends that you set your setup to be the same directory as your LOR sequences.
Now, I want the
But then you have to move
XML, do I want the LMS file?
You wanna move the LMS file into the same place for the network.
Okay, then I had already moved it, this is it, happens to be the only one, I think.
So you just highlight that and convert it to the SEQ and you'll see all the time.
I don't want, no, this is weird, it's showing me only the X lights.
Yeah, so go to where it says X lights.
Right here?
Yep, and change that to LMS.
There we go, oh, no, it's still not showing me the lower.
No, so that means you, in that directory, you have those. Yeah, you'll have to.
I'm looking at them though, I do have one.
You changed right file type, right?
LMS,
Yeah, okay.
lower music sequence. Yeah, I have it, definitely
Oh,
have
it says it's an
LMS.
LMS file.
Huh?
It says it's an LMS file. Okay.
Why does it say underscore? Oh, it does say, because it's, you have to put underscore X lights or something. Oh, that was a convention Sean gave us in the training.
Yeah.
He said, if you don't want to get it mixed up with your original lore file, use the whole name exactly the same, because I always date them and everything. Notice the date here is, whoops, I gotta get over here.
12/30/2012.
Yeah, every day that I work on songs, I save as, so if I ever lose anything, if that file gets corrupted, the only thing I lost is one day's added work. So I go to the one from.
My naming format's
previous
different. than yours,
28th
but
or
I've been doing
27th.
that. I've been doing the same thing, although my naming format's different.
Because these files are so small, you can do thousands. All right, so this is the correct file. That's the one I want to bring in. And
Start conversion.
It'll tell you how it takes.
okay, now it's finished. Where do I see
Then you
it?
should be able to go to the Nutcracker and see that and
Open
it in Nutcracker.
Where do I do
under
that?
the play button.
Under.
Right here?
Yep, come straight down.
Oh, right there?
Yep, you should be able to see it now, as a SEQ file.
I want it as an X-light sequence. It is, right?
Yep.
And just say go, because it's the only one that just put it in there.
Yep. And that should show you.
Mini mega ornaments does not exist in your.
That's because the models don't want to.
So what do I do? Delete this element from the sequence? I guess it doesn't matter, I'm just trying to see some.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you, since the,
I don't know why that one.
it's because your LOR stuff.
Oh, I renamed, that's right, I renamed them to this. Mini mega ornaments is now tube tree ornaments. So that's what happened. Boy, this thing's pretty smart, isn't it? And then there should be the same for the mini tree. And that one is now called pixel strip tube tree. All right, now where are they here? Okay.
Yeah, they should be underneath there.
You got the same problem I did with that display. It
Yeah,
squished
with
everything.
it squished it down.
It is.
Can you see it on your display?
Move it over to your laptop display and see if you can see it there.
You see if you can see it.
Well, that helps.
Look at that.
I did bring in the timers.
They should probably have timers there. And then,
I'll be darned, there they are.
wow, Sean said it didn't do that though.
Yeah. Now, all thing you have to do now, you won't mess up anything in LOR. If you want to make changes to certain things just in Nutcracker, you go there and just make those changes. And I think there's a particular way you have to do 99 or something. But then you can export it back into LOR, and the only thing you change is what you turn into Nutcracker.
Also, he only has a fixed resolution in his timings. So notice how all these are precisely nice even numbers.
Yeah, they're 50, see, that's what it
He
does.
only has 50 milliseconds.
Right, see.
And LoRa goes to 20.
So it's.
And I have a lot of stuff down in that 20 range.
Yeah, so what it did is that it brought in, it just did it in 50 millisecond. Because that's.
Yeah, now he's challenging people if you could point out where a missing 30 milliseconds were. And so that's probably an interesting philosophy as well. But it's just that LoRa data is at 20 millisecond in grid, so it's much finer.
So I think what it does.
Right?
Huh?
Are the timing marks right?
He rounds off, whatever you are in the middle, he'll go up or down.
Right.
But by an average of 15 milliseconds, the max of 30. Well, really, it ends up being 15. Because LoRa's 20 max, and you don't know how far on and off you are.
Yeah, so basically.
You're not going to notice it.
He rounds up to the closest 50th of
This
millisecond.
is way awesome that they're all there. The key now, the harder part is you have to know exactly which one you're looking at for these. If you remember, I told you about the start times of effects being more important than when it ends. And that's the key here. You were showing graphically dragging it over to be absolutely dead on. If I go to LoRa and display the timing and then come over here and look for it, then I put the effect start right there.
Because basically, if you leave that next one blank, it keeps the same, it'll keep the same one
It keeps
going.
the effect until there's a change.
That's right.
So if you deleted 5 seconds, then the 5 seconds of the timing marks, then it's going to keep this last one for 5 seconds, and then until it says a change again.
Okay, so here's your question, and if you're at the end of the sequence, how do you turn the tree completely off and all?
Is there a save? Oh, there it is.
Oh, not an update.
I don't want to lose that thing.
Or if you want to turn a specific thing off in the middle of it, like your pixel tree,
You do not.
And say.
Yeah, and see, it's got all the LOR stuff in there, you don't see it, but, if you play that, if you would export that back to LOR, everything's there. But if you go and make changes just to what you want Nutcracker to change, then there's a way to do that, and then export it back, and then all your LOR stuff is preserved, and just your Nutcracker stuff is.
And the smart thing would be if you are only wanting to add stuff to your pixel tree, don't create entries for your arches and all that. If you're not going to be changing.
You're not going to change any of that. You're just going to change pixel tree or something.
Yeah. Because when you first import that, it asks, it asks me to check off the elements that are part of the one I want to change. Maybe I missed this.
Well, but if those are RGB, if they're not RGB, then you won't know. it won't ask you for
Even
anything.
if you are RGB, but you got something really cool going on in our LOR, but you don't want to take a chance of messing it up, don't include that column.
Right. But if you wanted to change parts of that column, you still could, but you just have to be careful that you don't mess up the whole thing.
Family, yeah.
But it's a lot more efficient, from what I found, the preferred way is to import from LOR, do all this, especially if you got a lot of RGB stuff. And then you change it here, and then you actually plug it with that cracker, because it's gonna be so much smaller.
Right.
But if you do all this and export it back, then it's gonna be huge. But again, those of us that are running LOR mode by default, you can't use that slide check, because you have to convert all of your LOR stuff to DMX. Right. If you convert it to DMX, you can't. Right. I know, I mean, we know we can do it, it's just a matter of, you have to do that in order to run.
Right.
In order to run your entire show from X slides.
Right.
Because it knows nothing about LOR.
Right.
So-
All those Twinkle and all that stuff.
You use Twinkle, yeah, I would use Twinkle and Shimmer, although DMX.
Oh my gosh.
What is that tube tray I was talking about? I don't have a version with the real audio attached yet. This is recorded with the mic on the camera. I'm trying to learn another software.
Where are the snowflakes?
That's an 8-foot star.
Oh yeah.
You can't get the stuff.
Where are the snowflakes? I want to see snowflakes. I see a deer.
Yeah, there's a deer up here somewhere. It's my wife's deer regard.
Danny, I have a
Oh, I saw a
suggestion.
deer.
Next time you're recording like that,
Deer.
Huh?
turn down your speakers and use an FM receiver right next to the microphone.
That's what I did.
Okay.
But I had it up too loud there in the beginning. It was good enough. I have a video program that has the original audio, and it's already synced them up.
Yeah.
But I haven't saved an output to be able to show this thing. That was what I was
Yeah,
going to look for.
See, I need a bigger house.
I need a big yard.
Here's these drum beats. It's the. You guys see the top of the house?
Top of the house.
You can't really hear it, but it was. We'll get that. That was a good example of it. But you really use some tight timings to do that. And I would say probably this end of the song, I spent an hour on it. Convincing myself of the exact time signature of the drum strokes. Because you're looking at 12 divisions per second that matches the 1, 2, 3, 4 perfectly. And then finding the drum spots in there is driving me crazy. These are the old spotlights that we made way back in the, by the end of the season, the lights were gone.
The ones I still try to use, I have to replace a bunch of LEDs in each tank.
Yeah. Well, there is there is one thing I want to show you guys, so some of you guys have it. When I did this in 2009, I had met Al Love and Don Williams the year before. I met Al kind of in the summer. Al was doing some software training, and I was building all this stuff to put it out and learning everything I could. Let me try to find the file folder I'm looking for here. Oh, family announcement, that's not it. Oh, files and something. Downloads and files, there we are. And as I got the thing up and running, I found out I had cancer right in the middle of all this. Took a bunch of time off because I was all freaked out. So I was wearing my bathrobe and for 2 or 3 days at a time and just doing software all day. Pretty freaked out over all of that. And then all of a sudden the News and Observer, we had people coming out to the house, but just not too many, just a few people like that. The News and Observer came out and they followed me around for 2 days, and they wanted pictures of everything and how do you do this, and the videographer was doing all this stuff, and then he went off and took some of my audio files on a USB key and shot his own videos. And then I was front page of Raleigh News and then front page of Cary News. Then Yahoo picked it up for 12 hours, so I was on the front page of Yahoo homepage for 12 hours. Cars started cramming up the parkway. The neighbors calling the police, so the police are now out driving traffic. What the hell happened? I didn't even realize that it had happened. It was like we were just in the house thinking of the same 1 or 2, or maybe nobody was out there. And
I jump into a hobby, I usually
here's what you did.
Grab all 9 feet and dive in. I'm running 79.2 amps, roughly 9,500 watts, divided up into 96 computer channels, FM transmitter, and then a spreadsheet that shows me exactly which segments of the power go in exactly which outlets on that.
That looked bad.
Each one of these 16 channels.
There's no load on them.
20 amp GFI outlets, 3,000 feet of wire later.
3,000 feet of wire later.
Yeah. Those are my neighbors.
Oh, video
He was pretty good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so far I've never matched it with anything. So he had me standing in the street. Watch this ending. Anyway, that's what happened. That sat on Yahoo, and apparently it wasn't the reason that I didn't get this till quite a bit later. The reason that people liked it was because it wasn't about the song. It was about putting it together, and it was about the people. And crazy thing.
Yeah. We weren't trying to sell beer.
And we're trying to sell beer.
Is there one of the obsessions episode?
There were people arguing on Yahoo. You know how you can comment? And guys say, "Oh, we got one bigger than that in my neighborhood. What the hell's the big deal?" And then somebody else would say, "You idiot! It's not about you, and it's not about your damn songs. Look at all the people having fun." And they'd be back and they'd be arguing over it. Yeah, but that's not a big system like we have. And how does he get on Yahoo? I don't know. I fell in it.
Yeah,
So they were arguing, and for everybody that argued about something, somebody else had beat on them and so that never ended.
A lot of it is truly the luck of the draw, and who finds you, and it just turns out this year they want to do something.
So people would see that, and then they'd look up you'd go to the News and Observer article, and it would, and the News and Observer article said, stop by 308 Cleveland Circle. People were coming from Richmond, Virginia, and they'd come in and they'd walk up, and I didn't know what to do. I wasn't used to even walking out. Now I like to walk out and talk to people. So the first time I did it, it scared the crap out of me. It's like, oh my God, there's 30 people out there. Jesus. I come out, you know.
That is part of the enjoyment, though, just walking around and talking to them.
Well, I really embrace it now. I have a lot of fun with it. You know, it's fun to go out and talk to the kids. I tell them to come on in the driveway, and the little kids run around out there. You know, so all of that's fine. How many of you have done Santa Claus so far? Has anybody ever done Santa Claus?
You mean as in play the part of Santa Claus?
Yeah.
No.
You know that you know I've been doing it.
Yeah.
I go out at Christmas Eve and we hand out icicle or candy canes usually. And now I found these little balls that are even better than candy canes. I forget the brand, but they're really cool. And we're always super crowded that night. The police has to manage the traffic, and I handed out 2,000 of them in 90 minutes this last Christmas. My kids helped me, and we go in and we walk through every car. The police keep them moving kind of fast and coming all through. But here's the deal. I go out as Santa Claus, and I always had that plan when I was building it. So my wife helped me find a really good Santa suit. And so here, Christmas Eve comes, and I got my little basket of candy canes, and I'm going to go out and stand in my driveway. But when you're out there, you are Santa Claus to these little kids, the little ones, you know, not the 5 or 6 year old. He's not Santa Claus. We saw the real one at the mall. But the 3-year-old, 4-year-old girls and the young kids, you know, you are Santa Claus. They know you, and they know you know them, so you're friends. You don't get that until you're wearing that dang on suit and you go out and you start talking to those little kids, and that is very bizarre to do it. You ever tried doing the Santa suit? So I stuck with it. It scared the daylights out of me. I started, you know, trying to talk deeper, and then they'd come by and they'd go, Santa, yeah, Santa, and I go, yeah, hey, how are you? So you got to do it. You got to play the part, because you know all the moms will get out with their little kids and come over and have you hold them. With the lights going on in the background or whatever.
Don Williams has a slide out there that Santa sits in with the kids and take pictures.
Yeah, no, Don with his monster, you know, he gets a guy who's, wow, scary good Christmas. Then we got Shanta. Have you guys met Shanta in our club? Have you guys ever come out when he's here? And we got a real Santa Claus in this club.
I've seen the picture.
He lives in Wake Forest.
Yeah, I've seen this picture.
Shannon is his real name, but he goes by Shanta. And he's just flat out Santa Claus. White hair and the puffy face and the beard and the just.
Also wear Christmas outfits even in summer.
Yeah. He does. He lives it. He's putting a lot of technology in his house. He's done a lot of pixels. All this stuff, when I said I got a deal on them, all of them came from him. Because after he bought a bunch of this stuff, he decided later that he's literally going to build some of the stuff into his moldings in his house and make covers to just, all I got to do is go and cover them. I don't know how he's doing with that, but I believe he's working.
The last meeting, he said his wife lost the job and had no chance of getting another one anytime soon. So he was selling off a lot of his stuff.
Oh, I missed that part. I didn't have that conversation.
That's why he was right here.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't seen him on a whole lot on Christmas Carolina.
No, he hasn't, so they might be struggling a bit. That's unfortunate. I feel bad. He's a really, really nice guy. And he's a very intelligent guy. He really can think through something.
He never actually said it, but I think he's got some type of disability that keeps him from doing a full-time job.
Oh, he does?
So he actually does Santa Claus work.
Right.
He even goes to Santa Claus conventions.
Right.
In Santa Claus, Indiana.
Oh yeah, and he says he has people that just stop him on the street and want to hire him for all kinds of money, and can you go to here and I'll pay you to do this.
But very seasonal work.
He doesn't need an outfit. He could show up in, you know, summer t-shirt and thongs, and they would still say, Santa Claus, I wondered what you did off season. That's what they would do. He's Santa Claus no matter what the heck he does.
Yeah, I took a picture of him and sent it to a bunch of people at work around the country. I said, he does exist.
Yeah. Oh, he did that?
I did that.
You did that?
Within inside my company. A lot of people can basically Yeah, we do
know-
believe.
We know where the real one is now.
Yeah.
It's in Wake Forest, North Carolina.
I never
think
claimed
it's-
he was said, I just said he does exist.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
And he doesn't have a big voice, he has. a
I
nice-
still haven't mixed my videos. We were looking at the distant view, and then I have two of them way over to the left that kind of go down. I got one down to the right, trying to learn this video program. But I'm still doing all my boating hobbies and.
What type of camera do you use?
What?
What type of camera do you use?
Canon. It's a regular Canon with a big lens on it and a wide-angle lens. It's a full-size lens. My wife's hobby is really the photography. I learned enough about her camera to do the videos and then went on the websites to learn about night shooting. And then we bought a better lens that had better, I can't tell you talking about it, but there's a factor for lenses of how low light they can handle.
Yeah, the chemical
we bought one-
composition of it so that the chemical composition of the glass, so that it,
Whatever it is, yeah, we got a lower light lens. I was trying to get one wider too, but I have to get far back. They told me that if I use a wide angle lens, it will stretch everything. You know, I guess it's kind of the fishbowl technique. It curves everything to get a wider view into that same number of pixels in the display of the camera. But it does.
Mel Welch did how to video your show at night. That's on YouTube. Actually, on the Christmas Carolina. That did the video.
I have another club thing that I've been doing a lot longer than this one. And I've been collecting antique outboards, and I have a number of antique hydros. I guess I was talking about that earlier. But I picked up a toy that from my childhood I always wanted to have this. It's a
Small boat.
well, it is. It's only 14 feet.
The engine is bigger.
Huh?
The engine is bigger.
Yeah.
It is. It's a 14-foot boat with a Merc 1000 on it. It's a 1961 Glastron jet flight, which was one of the hottest boats on the lake in the early 60s. And then 1964 was the anniversary edition of this Merc 1000. It's 100 horsepower. It's a vertical 6-cylinder outboard. And it screams. The sound of 6 cylinders vertical is just incredible. And it's got a classic 3-blade bronze prop on it, but I found there's a 2-blade with a lower pitch that will really make this thing scream, and I've got that on the way. It's going to arrive, I think, Tuesday. So I haven't even tried it in the water with that yet, but that prop's going to be for me.
You still have
I'm
it?
used to the hydros, and
You still have it?
Have what?
A boat.
I just bought it.
Oh.
I just got it. I mean, I've only driven it twice. I drove it the day I got it, and then I've had it out once since. I just got the North Carolina numbers. I have the registration, but I didn't have the numbers printed, so I was thinking of taking it tomorrow. I might put the North Carolina registration to the right of the South Carolina numbers, so that they maybe won't stop me. If they do, I'll have all my paperwork. Here's my.
Where are you running at?
Well, I'll run it at Jordan for now. There's my antique club has meets around the.
Any place he wants to be, no cop can catch him.
Any place I want to. That's
I'm
right.
actually going to be at Jordan Lake tomorrow with my boat.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about coming down tomorrow. Maybe we'll be in touch. Do I have you in my?
I just got a little 16-foot John bass boat, aluminum bass boat.
Well, if we decide not to take this, then I have a Sea-Doo 14-footer with a 215 in it, and that's still in my driveway. I got to take it to my daughter's house. She agreed to store it for me. They have a couple acres of land. I'll have to sit outside, which kind of bums me, but it will.
My garage has been mostly over the years full of boats, but now it's full of boats and Christmas crap. This boat, I have pictures. Oh, in fact, one of them is right here. I did this,
I found a guy on Craigslist that was selling old banners, like you would see the billboards.
Yeah.
On the side of the road. They're actually like a non-rippable type of fabric, just plastic coating on it, like art material.
There's this, remember I was talking about the garage storage that I added? This is the second one that was.
Oh, wow.
And then these guys store on pegboard. And there's that tube tree that's got pixel strips inside the tubes. But the boat is sitting.
That's a boat? Looks like a car.
It's, yeah, it's sitting right there.
That's
I'm
vintage.
standing up looking at my little porch as you walk out of our kitchen in the garage. So it's just my crazy storage. Joe, I'm gonna look and see if I had your, yeah, Joe Tripp, 414-0269.
Yeah.
Still on that one? Cool.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go out, just me and Tara in the morning, just take the boat and just run around.
Well, I may call you if, I mean, mostly what we want to do with this boat is just cruise on, and I'm not gonna be out just pounding the crap out of it. I have little hydroplanes also that I do that.
Where do you launch your boat from, the marina, or you go somewhere else?
Well, you know, I had a big houseboat in the marina up until just a couple months ago, for the last 14 years, so I was like the number 3 boat on the lake.
I always go to the marina, but it costs me $10 when I do it.
I know, they get a couple bucks more. I always consider things are just a little safer there. There's more people around. I just don't like the park system. When I'm camping, I don't mind it. You know, we kind of take appropriate measures.
Right.
Where was that? Family chicks.
You can put that right in the back of my car. Yeah.
I was going to.
Yeah, you know, I'll take it home with me.
Please, it's coming home with me.
I'll test it out for you too.
I'll test it out for you. By me and my.
We're in my vows.
I'm looking forward to seeing the build document on there.
There it is. So there's the boat I just sold.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I want it.
And my jet boat always sat right there on the back of it.
Why don't you sell it to
And
me?
then there's the Sea-Doo.
It would have if you came up to Mike's.
Pulling triple tow. Here's my, I have the twin hydroplanes that I'm out on a lot. My son's now driving them, so here's me out with another guy in a 3-point. They're a little 9'6", throw a lot of water in. And, but this is the kind of stuff we would do out at the lake. A lot of the guys with our big houseboats, we would all go out and tie up together and just make a giant island of the boats.
On the middle of the water.
Yeah. Hey, you guys ever been out to Durham, Bulls Park, watch a Bulls game?
Yeah.
Did you know that they have special nights throughout the year that you can watch the game and then they close the park and you get a special ticket to come back in and sleep on the field?
Yeah, we did that.
And they serve you breakfast in the morning and everything. It's really cool. Everybody was sweating their buns off. See this little pop-up guy right here?
Yeah.
That's me.
With an air conditioner.
I had an aero bed, the battery blow up queen aero bed, and that thing. And everybody's in there in their bed. Some of them are hanging out like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And I'm just laying there in my time hall. I got chipped off by some guys that had done it, and they said, check the weather. If it's not going to get down to 70, then just plan to be up. And he's sitting outside. They weren't even going. They just told me about it, and I had the pop-up, and I said, hey.
Were people mad at you?
Huh?
Like, how do you have that?
Oh, they were just laughing. When I set it all up, they thought it was really funny. Then when they're getting their tents, and people are going back out, and lots of them come by, and he goes, "Now I see why you brought that thing." They dim down the whole place at night. It gets pretty dark, but they leave, a little bit of light so you can walk to the bathrooms and everything.
So what does everybody do? Just hang out, socialize?
Yeah, they get out, you go out in the field barefoot and throw frisbees and,
Baseball groupies.
and
It's
baseball
a
stuff.
sleepover.
Yeah, they do it mostly for Boy
once.
Scouts. In this case,
Yeah.
this was the YMCA,
Yeah,
Indian
Boy
Guide.
Scouts, we did it for.
Cub Scouts.
The Scouts are the ones that started it, and they own priority, and then they let other groups fit in if the Scouts aren't bringing X number of people. In this case, that was probably 2/3 Scouts, and then there's a group over here that were from the YMCA, Indian Guide, Indian Princess Program. That's how we got it. So anyway, we gotta just clean this place up, and I was gonna have a discussion about next year's
Let's have that and shut down.
TASL meetings. But there's not really a quorum of all the people right now. So I guess we'll get a post going online. I just want to make sure everybody still wants to do the same 3. Is everybody's opinion to still keep the same 3 for those here? We've always been doing February, May, and August, basically. February and August this year were both packed. We had a great, August was